Laundry just finished too.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You know what? I sometimes wonder, like, should I just break off? Should I do my own thing? And when I get interrupted in the intro, absolutely. I just want to be like Alexander Skarsgard out there wolving it up. But this is a Geek First review. Kirklin's laundry is done. I am the Nightblade wielder, Travis Snail, and I'm joined by
The Berserker, Kirklin Patzer.
I'm the jester, Taylor Field.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a good week. I actually kind of forgot. I don't know if we don't know what's going to happen next week because it's CinemaCon, so it could be good, could be big, whatnot. But still, could be some big news next week. We got the penultimate episode of Moon Knight. We reviewed Moon Knight this week. These boys reviewed Halo the other day. Me and Taylor dropped our massive talent review, and we got newscast galore. I think there's going to be 3 of them next week. So a plethora of content. You want to go download and follow us at all the links below. Taylor, where can they find those links and us and everything?
Ladies and gentlemen, you can find us with your internet connection in the search bar. GeekVerse.ca is our home base. GeekVerseCast is our Twitter. GeekVerse on our Facebook.
I feel like this music's not fitting for the Northman review, though. You know, like there's no darker music there. Like I feel this is the Ducks one, right?
There you go.
Kill the music. Kill it. Kill it. No. Kill it. Get
Like
rid of
sped
it.
up the tempo there. That was interesting.
None of that works for Northman at all. I don't feel like that. This is our chance, guys. This is our chance to get that film Twitter crowd when they're like, they just talk about comics and movies, and here we are playing fucking
cinema.
yeah. Man. But yeah, this is a review for Northman. Everything's down below. Links, audio, video, our podcast feeds. And most importantly, head over to Patreon and support us because you get ad-free exclusive early episodes. In May, you'll be getting a lot more stuff coming your way. So look forward to that. We'll be doing a little announcement, making a lot. You guys will get to help us with some choices, etc. So lots of fun things. The more you support us, the more content we can create for each and every one of you. I was going to say I'm JFK, but I'm just
over here. Yeah.
No, I'm actually a character from Fantastic Beasts. Check out that review. We got that going on too. Sonic, everything. Yeah, I felt like there was something I was gonna say, but I'm forgetting. Manscaped. You know, when you're watching this movie, you could probably look around and go, man, some of these people could use some Manscaped. So head over website GVPOD, 20% off, free shipping. You want to do that. So this is the Northman review. As always, we'll start with our non-spoiler thoughts overall. So if you haven't seen it, or if you're going back and forth, because obviously Robert Eggers, I won't say controversial director, but like a very, I'd say a specific taste at times, right? You look at The Witch, you look at The Lighthouse. It's not maybe for everyone. So if you're thinking, hey, should I go see this movie? Well, this is going to be your chance to listen, and we'll take a break, and then we'll go into spoilers. So if you've seen it, and I would say that for the most part, you should go see this. And I'm going to go first because I'm already kind of giving a mini review here. I would recommend this movie. So here's the thing. I'm interested to hear Taylor's point of view because he went with someone that maybe did not enjoy that much. But I will say, I actually think this is the most streamlined, mainstream type of Robert Eggers movie that he's done so far. He's only done 3. But I just feel, and don't get me wrong, I feel like there's some stuff that's a little safe in the movie, but like a Robert Eggers safe movie is like everyone, like could be 10 other directors, like craziest fucking movie of all time. Like, don't get me wrong, there's some wild, weird, crazy ass stuff in this movie. I just feel like when you compare it to The Witch and Lighthouse, I feel like I could recommend this to a lot more people. I feel it's a lot more accessible because I feel like it is a tale as old as time. It's Shakespearean. It is a brutal, it's a brutal tale of revenge. It's a beautiful tale of revenge. It's a tragic tale of revenge. It's a layered tale of revenge. It was a lot more straightforward than I thought it was going to be, but I could say for the most part, almost everything, I loved this movie. Now, it's tough because I tweeted about this the other day that we have so many great movies out this year already. Like, usually this would be like, oh, this is my movie of the year. But I've already had the Batman. I've already had everything all at once, like Turning Red. It's like usually any other year this early, like, oh, Northman, clearly. So it's up there. It's in my top 5. But I love this movie. And that was the biggest thing I said about it just a second ago is the layers. I love that we have, obviously Alexander Skarsgard is our main character, but we have a collection of other characters too. And I just feel they do such a good job of getting everyone's motivations very clear, making it very black and white. It's not just as simple as when the movie starts to when it ends. I think it is a gorgeous shot movie, but that's kind of, we've talked about it before with The Witch and Lighthouse, right? Like that's what Lighthouse is, whether you like it or not. You watch Lighthouse, like, man, this is just like it looks like a piece of, that meme, absolute cinema art. Like, Robert Eggers and his team, whoever he works with, always does such a good job. The landscapes, the variety of the world. I cannot wait to, in a few months from now, because I actually just watched it last week, but to do like a Green Knight Northman doubleheader. Because my God, just like landscape porn, just seeing like characters traveling and doing stuff, different shades of color, night. Alexander Skarsgard got fucking so jacked for this. He's looking like $1 million. So, but no, this movie performances are just a knockout. I gotta find out how to pronounce his name. I've never heard of this actor, seen this actor before, but Klaus Bane, who plays like the antagonist, the uncle, man, I want to see this guy in fucking everything. This guy should be Kraven the Hunter, not Aaron Taylor Johnson. This guy was
Yeah.
great. But no, it is a revenge share, and that's where I will say it's not a negative because that's why it was so good. I will say for the majority of the film, it was actually predictable aside from some of the weird stuff that happens. But the general plot, I feel like most of the big twists or the turns that are coming, there wasn't any that really got me, but that's just kind of to the credit of how good Robert Eggers is. As I was engaged the whole time. I messaged Taylor because he had seen it before. I'm like, oh, should I get popcorn and pop? Because I'm seeing it past 10. So, and I was already tired. And I did get the popcorn and pop, but honestly, I wouldn't have needed it in retrospect. So thanks to Taylor for adding those calories to me for no reason. But I was engaged the whole time. Where like Lighthouse and Witch to me are very, very slow at times, especially the Witch is very slow. This has slow moments, but I feel like it has a really good pace to it. Yeah, I'm excited to kind of be more specific in spoilers. I think my only cons are there were a few jump in story points where I thought were just a bit not coincidental, but just a bit too easy that I didn't really like. And also when I saw all these characters having layers, I thought she knocked out of the park. Anya Taylor-Joy, one of the best actresses around. You know, we're starting the Anya army. But I will say, I wanted a little bit more of that character and her relationship and the journey she has with Alexander Skarsgård character. I think we kind of just, I won't say scratch the surface. It's not that bad, but I feel that's the one that I'm wanting more on. It was the lesser of all the other ones, and all the other people that, even if they're a minor character, I thought we really got to dive into for our main cast. There's still some questions I have with her, and still some kind of just motivational things that I, was wanting a little bit more. So yeah, overall, my cons, I have like a few of them, but nothing massive. I really enjoy this movie. This is actually one where like Witch, Lighthouse, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna see this again at some point. I'm gonna wait a little bit. Northman, I can't wait to see again. Whether I don't know if we'll get to see it in theaters again, but definitely it's one when it hits streaming or something like that, I'm gonna probably watch like right away. So yeah, for the most part, I love this movie. It was a great, just brutal revenge tale, and applause all around to the team. So
Cool. Yeah, I'll go next because there's a couple of things you're mentioning there with like specific maybe motivations or like it was kind of lucky that this happened and like
yeah.
actually maybe I'll save some of that for spoilery stuff for more specifics, but also like the Anya Taylor-Joy thing that you're hinting at and alluding to. It was funny because I was literally talking about like a very similar thing with this when I was leaving the movie with Shay, and like I feel like there was a lot of things in this movie that I would normally have issues with, of maybe just like, oh, that's convenient that happened, or like maybe just their relationship just went a certain direction where I'm like, oh, that was kind of quick, and like maybe I would pick some of those things apart. But just for like what this like movie was, I just completely like just, I don't know, forgot about those scenes, or not necessarily forgot about them. They just didn't bring down the movie for me at all. Maybe I should have led with I fucking love this movie. I was so hyped by the end of it. I literally had like sweaty palms near the end. Like it was one of those movies that like from start to finish I was just fully engaged, and like I think they just knocked out of the park with like what they're trying to do with this. I just want to say so much, but I'm gonna hold my tongue for just spoilery stuff. I don't want to say anything story wise, but just all the landscapes that they went to were just absolutely gorgeous. Like the costume design, I'm definitely gonna be rooting for this in like Golden Geeks time because there's just a lot of things to praise. Annie Taylor-Joy was just fucking 10 out of 10. Alexander Skarsgård, I've definitely seen him in things before, but I feel like this is like, I don't know, like
It's a
there's just so
different
many
level.
Skarsgards at this
Yeah.
point that I just always mix them up.
I feel like,
But
and this is not to crap on movies that Taylor likes, Godzilla versus Kong. Is he? Yeah, he's in Godzilla versus Kong, right? Alexander Skarsgård. I mix them all up. I
he
just
is.
feel like, so I've only seen a few episodes of True Blood, but I feel like every time he's in a movie, I hear all these True Blood people, oh, he's great, he's fantastic, and then he's always in the movies, and I'm like, this dude seems fine. Like he doesn't seem anything too special because I feel like the movies he's in are never that great. This is the
Right.
first time where I'm like, okay, as a non-True Blood watcher, I'm like, okay, like I think he was Tarzan once a few movies ago with Margot Robbie, which I saw. I was like, okay, but this was the first time like, okay, this guy has the goods that could like deliver performances, and I hope maybe he just needs a better agent. I think that's it.
Yeah, I mean, Travis, you mentioned like his physique that he was in. Like, I
Oh.
believed he was a Viking. Like, he just portrayed that role so well of like just a bloodthirsty berserker. But also when it gets into like some later stuff, he just really hit home with like those emotions. Like, I was just getting
Mm-hmm.
sucked in on the scenes, which, from where the movie was starting, I wasn't expecting to be like, oh, this is gonna be an emotional movie. It's like this is just gonna be a fucking epic revenge tale. And if it was just that, I would think I would have just loved it. But they added in those extra sprinkles, which just carried it over the cliff for me. I don't know what I was gonna say there, but
Carried
anyways,
over the cliff.
it was so good. It was so epic. Just like quickly, like who I would recommend this movie to. I'm kind of
Yeah.
torn because I definitely agree with what you said. How like this compared to all the other Robert Eggers movies, I guess there's only 3 that he directed. This is definitely the most palatable and like digestible, I think. Because like I love The Lighthouse. I've seen it twice. And the
Mhm.
second time, I'm like, man, this is like not an easy movie to watch. Like, it's very
No.
well made, but
Yeah.
it's not really easy to. I don't know.
I
Like,
say
I
the
don't
same
want to
thing with
give
The
too much.
Witch too.
Oh,
Like,
The Witch is even worse for me. Like,
yeah.
I watched that and I could appreciate like the structure of it for like it being a film and like the performance wise, but it's like I don't think I ever want to rewatch that
Yeah.
movie. It's
And
something else, but
that's what I was always waiting for because like I feel like obviously the big comparison is always like him and Ari Aster. I feel right. He did Midsommar and
right,
Hereditary,
yeah,
and I feel like it's that similar. But for me, I've kind of liked Ari's stuff a bit more because I feel like when I leave it, I would watch it again, even if I didn't love it. I'd watch again. Where both The Witch and Lighthouse, like I'll watch again, but I may need quite a bit of time, and not because like I'm disturbed, just like that. Some it has a pace. It has a night. It has a crock pot pace of like you have to really stew on it and stuff. And
yeah.
sometimes I feel like even with Lighthouse and Witch, the end good, but they haven't sit with me like other people. But then there's some people that reverse that just say, "Oh, The Witch is like the best horror."
Best horror movie. I don't agree with
Yes.
those people, but
No, I don't either. But then I could see though that approach of But this was the first Eggers movie that I left. I'm like, okay, I love this one as far as like, okay, I'll return to this one multiple times in my life.
yeah, no, 100%. And like, I think in the beginning of the movie, I was expecting to have that thought by the end, like, man, what a like, similar to Lighthouse, like that was an adventure, but also
Mhm.
like, I need some time before I watch this.
I'm ready to
I'm
get
like,
off this rock.
there's just certain sequences in this movie that I just want to rewatch those. If I'm just like, I don't know, let's
Oh
just say
yeah.
going to the gym or something, I just want to watch a certain scene, just get fucking just like so pumped up. Like I was just so excited to be watching this movie. I was grinning at times. I was squeamish at times. I was emotional at times. Like this is just such a great epic tale, and I'll just stop there before I just keep rambling on how amazing this movie is.
Did Shay like it?
Great question. Yeah. So I I wouldn't say she liked it, but
Mhm.
there was a certain scene that I shouted out, and she's like, "That was pretty awesome, actually." Like I like that part of the movie, and I'm like, "Wow!" I was very surprised. I thought she was gonna be really upset at me for dragging her to this movie, but there was moments where yeah, she just kept looking at me like, "What the fuck did you bring me to?" I think early on in the movie, there's some things going on. Like first 20 minutes, it just gets into that camp of like, "What the fuck
Oh
are we
yeah.
watching here?"
Oh
But
yeah.
she was even able to appreciate. It helps that she also is a fan of Anya Taylor-Joy, and she
Mhm.
was just phenomenal in this movie. So, but yeah, all in all, she wasn't mad at me when we left. I wouldn't say she liked it, but she didn't despise it. So I would go maybe that camp. Which I was surprised about because Taylor was giving me the warning beforehand, and I
Yeah.
literally didn't tell Shay what you said until we were in the theater because I was just scared. I was scared she was gonna run off or
You're
something.
here now. Well,
Yeah.
that's a great transition into Taylor, what were yours thoughts? And actually, because we started with it, we'll do the reverse. What were Madison's thoughts of this movie before we get to your thoughts?
She's still feeling the effects of it today. Like she really didn't like it. And
Came
I
home
didn't.
early from work, just like I don't feel
Yeah.
good.
Fuck
She
you,
had
Taylor.
she had yesterday and today off from work.
Oh, okay.
When I got home yesterday, I
Way
was
to
like,
spend a day off.
I gotta do a little bit of work, and then I'm going to the movie. And again, I never pushed her to go see it. I left it totally up to her choice, and I bought my ticket like earlier this week, just my one, and then I was about to leave. She's like, "Oh, you know what? I'll go with you to the movie." I'm like, "Okay." I bought the second ticket and we went there, and yeah, she trucked through it. And there was some stuff like, again, I really really liked this movie, but there were times where even I was like looking over to the side, like, "Oh my goodness, like this is something else." And I'd look at her, and she was just giving me the look, like she was already looking at me, like head down, like eyes kind of like just like full of expression, like what are we watching right now? And there's even some moments where there was another woman in the theater who was up in like the upper left, was like, no, oh, like she was just not having it. I will say, literally right when the front, like the title drop of the movie appeared, this guy's like phone started ringing off the charts, and he took him like a good 15 seconds to turn it on the
What an
mute.
asshole.
That reminds me of two things that happened in my theater. One, there's one moment in the theater where the speakers were so good, someone yelled. It wasn't like a violent. I was just like, "Hey!" I thought it was someone in the theater, and I looked around like, "Who the fuck is just yelling at the top of the lungs?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's in the movie." Like, legitimately, I got confused. And two, I think I've mentioned this fucker before in a cast, but fucking House of Gucci guy was here again. So what happened was when I saw House of Gucci, I was in the back row, and I'm like, "Oh, I got this." And then 5 minutes into the movie, this guy sat down, and every joke, I think it was the same guy because he sat in the back row. I got there after him. I bought tickets there. I'm like, fuck no. I sat a row in front of him. I don't want to sit alone in a row with one guy. Same thing. And he's like an older gentleman, a little more heavy set, and every like just little joke. And there's not even that many jokes in here, but just like, I'm just like, fuck. Like, luckily, it said more or less jokes, but this guy, he's still my
Nice to
gimmick.
pick his movies that you're going to.
Oh my god. Anyway, so
You
what
said
did
you had a few people in this theater too.
I had about 20 people. It was a 10 p.m. show, and I had like 20 people in the theater. I was shocked. It was more than Beasts. It was, and obviously I don't think it's gonna do better than Beasts, but I just make for where I was. It's more than Beasts. It's more than when we saw Talent. But probably about the same as Sonic because there's parents and kids and stuff like that. But I was surprised. But I definitely knew it was like a film Twitter crowd because I heard someone be like, I think he just made it black and white to be artsy. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. I'm in this type of crowd. This is the 10 p.m. This is the 10 p.m. Northman crowd. Oh man.
They thought the movie was black and white.
No, I think they're talking like I
There's
think
a
that
dream sequence. When
no one get mad at me. No one get mad at me. I think they were talking about the lighthouse being black and white, and then someone brought up no. But someone brought up Snyder making Justice League black and white, and her like no one even watches that edition. Which I that's a lie. I know people watch the Chrome edition, but he didn't even watch that. People, he's just making that artsy. I was like, oh man, I'm literally in a Twitter bubble right now. Get me out, get me out. This is what I sound like sometimes. People think I'm pretentious, but yeah, I had quite the experience. But what was your experience, Taylor? Did you like this movie?
Yeah, overall, I really, really did like this movie. Again, like I said, there were some moments where I thought, oh, that's a little peculiar, but I was hyped, and I was just thinking, this has a lot of awesome action. Like straight up, I felt like a good portion of Assassin's Creed Valhalla was literally just replicated into the screen. That was a big kicker for me while I was really enjoying it. And it's just the way it was filmed, the angles of the camera, and some of the action sequences were super, super fantastic. You guys said it, like the locations and the scenery was absolutely incredible. And it was just it was an interesting story, like start to finish, and just everything that unfolds for our characters. And I like the character development as well, and just getting to see certain things unfold. But as soon as I finished the movie, I thought, okay, I gotta do two things. I gotta recommend this to some people that I know will really enjoy it, and I gotta warn Kirklin. So
I gotta warn Kirkland. Oh, there you go. The guys got anything non-spoilers to say?
the score and everything was great.
Score was so fucking good. Yeah.
I'm just trying to think of the last spoiler-free stuff. I think that's just performances, score, and just there's a lot of things to appreciate. I think if you're just like a fan of like a well-made film, I
Yes.
think that's a good recommendation there. So
Well, now's your last chance. As I said, it kind of, I got to sneak behind the wall and whatnot. But as I said, don't listen to spoilers. Not one of these, I don't care. No. Go see the movie, then come back. Go support this movie. Go see it. If you're one of these people that complain, all we got is remakes and sequels. Well, you got this out. You got Massive Talent out. You got Everywhere, Everything. Taylor, go fucking see that. Don't go see Morbius. Don't go see this other stuff. That's the next thing to see,
I did not like your
Taylor.
list of order of those
Yeah.
movies that you're
And
mentioning. That is
the
it
other-
wasn't in like actual viewing order. I just spitting out the movies.
And the other reason to see this one before everything is because that one has a smaller $100 movie, and it will leave theaters before fucking Morbius and stuff. But
Yeah.
go see The Northman as well. We're gonna break this down big time after this break. And we're back. So, yeah, I want to start, and because I feel like I don't like to do this, but I feel like lately I've been doing this. But I like to start with maybe my con or negative, because then the rest of the review can just me be like,
Let's do it.
praising it. Yeah, but it's not even a huge negative, because I want to compare notes to Kirkland, and then also get Taylor's opinion. So, Anya Taylor-Joy kills it, believable. She has some scenes that many women and men are gonna like out there in the world, that I was surprised, because there's many just shots of her being nude that they hid, and I was like, okay. And then just one point there's a pool. I was like, okay, I was not expecting that. So that was The Northman. That's my review. No, I'm joking. But anyways,
Northman. That is cinema.
I saw that. I just passed out. But no, of
You
course,
just wake up, the credits are going. You're like, that was a
Yeah.
10 out of 10 movie.
of course, beautiful woman. But the bigger thing than that is one of the best actresses in the world right now. I throw her up there with the Lupita. I throw her up there with Florence. Everything like that. So I really like everything she did. I like the character. I like the dialogue. I think for me that I was kind of, circle peg square hole was the not so much the romance. I was fine with the romance. I think that got a little predictable as we went along. I think it's how we started it, because we have this scene where, and I have a few questions about this, because maybe I missed something, or I don't think I did, but maybe I did. So anyways, he's with a bunch of other these like wolfy people, like other Northmen, and they've pretty much been enlisted, not even hired. I don't know, like they're working with another group of men to take over this village, right? Pretty much to rape and pillage it. And
Yeah.
we get this scene where it's, like Joe from season 3 of You, where the guys are just getting hyped up and they're yelling in the sky and everything like that. That's all I could think about was that season 3 at
With
first.
Carrie. Carrie was probably in there.
Yeah.
Actor that
I
played
just
that
I
guy.
just thought about dropping a spoilers without context tweet this morning. I'm like, no, I won't. But anyway, so they get hyped up, and we'll go over this more. But anyways, the point is, he and this group of men help this other group of men destroy this village, right? One of the most terrible, like, sequence great, but like it's awful. They're taking children away from parents. There's a terrible, terrible moment of just they put all these people, including a bunch of kids, in a barn. They just burn it to the fucking ground. While that's happening, Anya Taylor-Joy is actually like fighting these people out, like she's trying to kill some of them, everything like that. We get this moment where, and I'll circle back to this later, where he decides he's gonna pretend he's a slave, gets on the boat. He gets on the boat with Anya Taylor-Joy, and she kind of like calls him out in like a shit way, like you're a Northman in a sheep's row, like whatever. And I guess I just never bought. I was waiting for, because all these characters we'll talk about, all these characters are shades of gray. There's no one to me that is like, like okay, maybe the uncle, but still they add some humanity to him. I feel all these characters are shades of gray, and I thought we were gonna get that with Anya, but I feel like she's just fully kind of good, because I don't understand. She calls him out for being a Northman. She knows what he did to this village, but I felt like she never brought that up to him. Really, there was no conversation, and she had no problem like fucking and fall in love with this dude who probably some of these people were her friends, maybe related some way, and he helped kill these people. Again, I'm not saying they couldn't have fell in love. I just thought it was going to be addressed at some point, or she was going to call out, or what I actually thought is the whole time I thought she was using him to get out of this situation. Like I actually didn't think she loved him, because she has this crack about, oh, you break people's bones, I break their minds, which kind of like we saw with the mushrooms, but I feel like you could have done more. But that was some of my problems with the romance at the starting. That I thought they had good chemistry as it went on. I just kind of like Kirkman, I just accept like, okay, they're together, this is the story. But I think the setup of it, I had some problems, and that was kind of thing that like held me back from loving that character. And I just actually wanted more of her, because I feel like there's times where she would just kind of not be around for a while.
Yeah.
So
No,
Kirkland, your side.
I'm glad you brought this up right away, because this was like a main thing I was kind of, talking to Shay about on the way home, is like this particular instance is an example of something where I definitely would normally pick it apart and like be very critical on like, okay, their romance just seemed very, very rushed in a sense to just like help the story, I guess. Like, because yeah, originally she was very sketched out by him, like not trusting him whatsoever, and she seemed like she was really set in her ways, like, no, you're the enemy and this is it. And I don't mind if eventually like they get to the point of being romantic, like just being lovey-dovey and stuff like this, but it happened very quickly of her just like, oh, you're here to kill this guy? Okay, I'll marry you. It was, that's obviously not
Yeah.
exactly what happened,
Yeah,
but
it
that's
just felt like it felt like you almost didn't need her there at the beginning because it felt like she had no memory of
right.
any of those events. And I
Yeah,
wish they went that way, that he kind of just met her on the island or something like that.
yeah,
Because when they're introduced beforehand, it's like, well, she has all this knowledge. You just like butchered these kids, like
yeah.
you helped butcher these kids. She was trying to
No,
save. It's
yeah.
weird.
No, 100%. And again, if I'm trying to like defend it, maybe it's like, well, she doesn't know. She knows he's a Northman, but she doesn't know for
Yes.
sure he was a part of that raiding party, right? Just this
Mhm.
guy is Northman, maybe trying to escape like just the life of a warrior or whatever it was. But literally, like for me, I was just so engaged on like the revenge story that like this just completely, I'm not gonna say went over my head, but it just didn't sit with me that it normally was. And that was kind of surprising because yeah, a lot of the times like when I have cons about like movies, if you're an average listener of our movie reviews, I feel like I'm usually picking apart like, oh, that's kind of eye rolly of like just, or maybe just the relationship was rushed in a sense that it could have had more time to just really develop to the point of where we ended up. But it just worked for me for whatever reason.
Mhm.
There's a couple more things that happen of like, well, of course he gets out for this way. And I think something that this movie did extremely well for me personally was blend together like the fantasy type spiritual type stuff with like the more realism. Like for
Yes.
me it was meshed together so well. So all of her like magic type things she was doing, it didn't take me out of the movie at all. There's a couple moments when Shay said like, oh, that was kind of convenient that this happened, and I was just like, yeah, no, it worked for me. Like I don't know, it's bizarre because yeah, absolutely. Normally I'd be complaining about it, especially like a relationship like that. But I think from like when they were actually in Iceland and like they were just like the two people like dismantling this group. I fucking love that. Like that was just the like I
Oh
was
yeah.
literally like grinning every time night would come and he would just go get his night blade and it's just like
Hanging
I'm
with the
getting
wolves.
basically Ghost of Tsushima vibes where he's like
Oh yeah.
I'll be like I'm the curse of this village here, and that was so fun. It was something I was not expecting. Like I've seen the trailers multiple times, but I didn't think we were gonna be going this route of him being basically Batman, right? Like
Oh
they
yeah.
think I'm in the shadows, I am the shadows. Like just fuck it, like I was so hyped on just that fear element he was bringing, which definitely just I think overshadowed like some of the things that maybe I'd normally be nitpicking about, which again I'm kind of surprised about because I know like I know exactly what you're saying, Travis, but it's like in the moment I was just like it doesn't even matter, like this is just so good for me, which is
Mhm.
yeah, I was so giddy on this movie. Oh my gosh. Tetterfield, what do you think about it?
I mean, yeah, this was just an incredible experience. Like from getting to see him at the beginning when he was just full wolf mode, like shedding his human form into becoming a wolf, and just like the transition they were going through was just so crazy to see. And yeah, them just assaulting this village. This is where it kicked in for Assassin's Creed vibes. He's just scaling the wall. Like they're sneaking in through the fog, and then the guy like sees him, throws the spear. I know we saw it in the trailer. We're just seeing it in the theater. It was just epic because he grabbed it and threw it back with incredible accuracy. Took
Oh yeah.
out that dude. Yeah, they just stormed the village, and you're right, Travis. It was just absolutely brutal when they started burning the kids. And that's like the tip of the iceberg of what they do that's fucked up in this movie.
Yeah, and there was moments when I thought they were gonna go further, and I was kind of worried. Like I thought maybe we'd be getting some like rape type stuff and like just actual like
Yeah,
brutal
I thought we were
murders and
definitely
stuff.
going that route.
I
To
thought
be
we were going
honest,
that way
yeah.
for sure, and I was kind of worried, and I'm glad that they kept that out and not being like, oh, I'm a pussy that can't handle that. Like I think there's a certain extent where you're doing it to disturb the viewer, and also you're doing it to just advance the plot. And I think they limited it in a way to just have enough to really progress the story. And like yeah, I'm not seeing children burned alive, like actually, but just them in that building, like with the door like knocking, and just knowing that like the women and children were there, like that stuck with me, and I didn't even like see them burn alive. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I'm glad they limited like that stuff because there was many gory moments, right? There's bowels coming out of people.
Oh
There's
yeah.
one person like strung
Penis
up
is being
upside
stripped.
down. Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, it's not like it's not MA or anything like that, but they weren't just going over the top to disturb the viewer, which maybe that's where like my complaints with something like Saw or like those types of movies are. Like I just don't like that type of movie where it's like it's just torture porn, like just for the sake of having that, and that's not really my
Mhm.
cup of tea. So I'm glad that they stayed away from it. It made me just again love this movie so much more for
But see, well, and I think that's just where it comes out in the setting and tone, where there is all those brutal things, like even when he like dismembers that guy and makes him like a horse and everything like that. But like the things that still stick with me most is the children thing, because like it is just that's if it's done right, which killing kids done right. I just mean like in any sort of the way. And that's why I always say the reason the first Saw is so effective is because it's about a guy sawing his foot off. Everyone could relate to that. Everyone
Yeah.
could relate to your foot's and you don't even see that when you watch the first Saw. There is like the torture porn element, but it's not like the other movies where like, we got to have these traps where you strip skin. No, you see Dr. Gordon put his saw on his leg and then they cut away and you don't see a single thing because it's that idea. It's the same thing. Like, yeah, you see that guy's penis ripped up. You see the horse guy. You see your hearts being ripped up. But the thing that's burned my mind is the thing with the kids. And yeah, it's because kids, but even in general, just the women being torn away, everything like that. And that's where I think it was good because right away you're cheering for this guy, right? I gotta bring up the names because I'm always bad at names, especially with this fucking movie. I'm gonna be bad at them.
I need
But
subtitles for a lot of moments in this movie.
You're cheering for Alexander Skarsgard's character, right? And also we'll get to why. But then you jump years ahead, and here he is helping murder innocent women and children. So right away you're rocked because you're like, this is supposed to be our hero, but he's helping doing these terrible things, and it's just like, how am I supposed to feel about that? And that's how the whole movie is about each character, in my opinion.
I never would have even put him in the category as hero. Like going into this, like I'm thinking, okay, Vikings, and this is going to be obviously, if it's going to hold true to the tale it's based off of. And again, even in history speaking, there's not really any heroes in this. It is just going to be, it's going to be killing. And this is just holding true to this Viking tale. And you get that with even the Ethan Hawke, right? Like his father being like, oh, he was pillaging and killing, and it's Vikings. So
yeah, but at the same time, from our point of view, because you don't know where the movie's going to go, he's just a kid, right? So he has not become a Viking-esque character. He could literally, his dad could die, he could go off for years and just be his own lonesome, then come back. So they are putting him in that world, and obviously that's what we get later on with like Ethan Hawke's character, that you learn like, yeah, he wasn't all good in rainbows either. But still, it is an interesting spot to put you in because, like I said, like I'm cheering for his revenge, but I'm also not mad if he gets killed, you know, because he's doing some terrible things. So it's an interesting spot to put a protagonist. I'm not saying that's a negative. It's just that it was a choice to the first scene you follow up with, oh, this guy lost his dad, his kingdom, he's alone, to oh no, he's wrecking shop and hurting everybody, you know, because later on, look at the end of the movie, he's freeing people, he's with Anya Taylor-Joy, so there's a character shift. Obviously, he doesn't.
He's with Anya Taylor-Joy. That makes him a hero in my eyes. That checks the box. Just yeah, like that first like years later moment, like when we actually see Alexander Skarsgård in the role.
Classic years later. Classic years later.
At least they didn't say like 5 years later, you know, doing the in-game thing.
I can't wait to do that one of our Geek Versus movie. It's gonna fucking happen. Years later.
5 years
minutes later.
Yeah, it comes up like that. But I was so engaged from that first moment that we see Alexander Skarsgård, because right away you see this guy who, yeah, he's kind of a part of this like raiding ship. Like he's a rower in the ship, one of many, but he's also like, you can just tell in his body language, like he has his own plan here. Like these people are, maybe they're just in it for war, and like this is what they like to do, or survival. But he, like, just the way he's rowing, and that one archer dude just like caps those two people. He doesn't even look at them. Like he's just like, I'm a man on a mission. And I think they do such a good job at just showing that, like, from this moment, which is like the first time we see him, to I think at the end of that battle sequence, because yeah, all this stuff is going on with like in the backgrounds. And first of all, the way that fight scene was shot was so fucking awesome. It was like one camera just following like Alexander Skarsgård.
Thrones, like Battle of the Bastards style.
Oh, that's exactly what I was thinking of. I'm like, this is just chef's kiss here. And that's where I'm like, well, Shay really likes Game of Thrones. Maybe she'll like this movie, you know? Where by this point we were past the dogs howling in the cave, Ethan Hawke and the young kid and Willem Dafoe. But yeah, no, just it follows him, and then he climbs up the wall, and then you just get a bunch of badass fucking action sequences, and then it's slowly following him like through the town, and you're just seeing the chaos and like the fear from like the peasants and like the people that are just like, there's just so much chaos going on, but you see this one man that's just pumping adrenaline, just fucking shredded. He's looking gorgeous,
fucking out on the ground.
Oh yeah, 100%. No, and then what follows after that, again, beautifully shot, like choreography, fight scene type thing, is just like the aftermath of the battle, of like, again, like the rape and pillaging is commencing, like the war is over, but like they're separating the kids from the families and stuff like this. But you just see our protagonist, and like, what even is his name? Amleth, I think. I saw that.
Yeah.
Amleth. he's just like he kind of hears like the screams in the background, and he's not like, I wouldn't say he's like distraught about it, but like maybe this is where it's hitting him, like this is maybe not right. But I don't even want to say that, because again, his only goal is revenge. Like it doesn't really matter how many villages he has to like burn down. His minds, and I just think the actor did such a good job at portraying like that weight that the character was bringing with him. And then there's like that other old dude's like, oh yeah, we found you and you're just a pup and look at you now, like you're awesome. And like he's not even really like listening to him. It's just like this is like a rung in the ladder to get me to my goal. And I was personally, I think I was just so impressed by Skarsgård's way to just exude that. And then we have the dream sequence with the Sirius that kind of like, come on, man, get back on your task. Like, quit fucking around here. Like, you actually have this to do. But I said a lot there. I don't know if you guys have anything else to add on.
Well, I was actually gonna bring you that when Bajor comes in, she's the first movie in like 15 years or whatever. But like when they had that moment, that's where I was kind of wondering, and it's not necessarily. I want to see how it hits me on a second watch and everything like that, because I, so like what is he doing in this moment? He's just going kind of like place to place and whatever, and I guess that's the idea, is like, okay, this thing gets him on the path. But I guess I just found it odd, just he's doing this, and then just one random day there's like this lucid dream like, hey, you gotta get your shit together and jump over there. And he's like, oh yeah, I guess I do. Like I guess I like that. I wish, I almost don't know if I needed the trippy scene. I think here's the problem. I like the scene. I don't know if I need that. I just kind of wish that he saw the opportunity by himself and just decided, hey, I'm going to pretend to be a slave. And that's essentially what he does. But the way they propose it is almost like this dream sequence is what like causes him to remember, like, oh, right, I'm on a mission. So I like the scene, but I just also didn't think it was needed. I think that was maybe it for me, where I wish the character just kind of had that motivation, because it seems like if he didn't have this like lucid, weird, trippy dream, would he have just continued going on village to village, keep doing his thing? And the same thing, like, what exactly causes this dream? That's the eggers of it all, where it's like, okay, did he have some peyote in that tent and now he's having this stuff, or is he having a fucking mental breakdown? I don't know, you know.
Taylor, you got anything to touch upon that?
I think that scene was super awesome, but I always just attributed a lot of the coincidental ongoings in this as just it's higher up and spiritual. It's just like Odin, the All Father, just kind of working hand in hand with this, and you can take it as you will, but I think it's genuinely that is the component.
I like that you brought that up, because honestly, this is again where like Travis, you just brought up some great points of like, okay, well, what is he really doing here? And then like, is this random dream like it's kind of just coincidental, like, oh, he's here with like he just raided a village where Annie Taylor-Joy is, which is they just so happen these slaves are going to his target. Like it's kind of lucky that sense. Like how many villages has he burnt down here? But for me, it's also just like this is kind of just his fate. Like Willem Dafoe.
That's the Shakespearean of it all. The destiny.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's like it's kind of puzzling me, because normally I'm like, oh, that's just eye rolly here. Even if it is fantastical, it's like, oh, it's kind of convenient that this happened. But again, maybe it's, you could pull certain examples from like Lord of the Rings. Like, why did this certain situation happen to just get our heroes here? It's like, I don't fucking care. It's an epic tale. Like, it's just awesome. So I think I was actually pulling a lot of similarities from a story like that, like just an epic fantasy tale. And this is like, I just think it really covered that base for me, which is again just why I was able to just take that. Like, okay, this is just like the cutscene with the Sirius where it gets him to his next target. And it's not like I'm gonna be like, well, why does this happen at this moment? Like it just, for whatever, it really, really worked for me, and I loved it. It was so trippy, and then again, it just gets our hero tied up with Annie Taylor-Joy, which is awesome. He fucking had to brand himself. That's fucking hardcore, man.
Oh yeah.
Oof.
Well, and that's all bring, and not even to like, it's not a huge negative for me, but that's all bring, like, probably there's only two little cons I have left. Was back to the first part of the movie where we meet him as a boy and Ethan Hawke and everything. Ethan Hawke, just fantastic in everything he does, pretty much. Like he's killing it in Moon Knight. He was great in this for a limited amount of time. And when they are doing the whole like wolf like tribal thing with Willem Dafoe and stuff like that, that's where I thought the movie was going to be more like that the whole time, because that reminds me of Witch and Lighthouse, where it's like, okay, this is just fucking weird. This is just weird stuff. Like,
on all fours is not what I was
he's sniffing this kid, he's burping, the kid's farting, and I was like, what do we do? Like, and that's where I always like other films. The far I'm like, this isn't necessary, but this is what Eggers does, right? And Dafoe's being fucking just weird ass shit. That's what you want. But anyway, so I liked it. I just wish there was a little more space between. Again, it's one of these things that overall I love the movie, so it's not a big thing. But when they like literally make this pact, like if you ever die, I'm gonna save you, and literally seconds later, it's like he gets killed. Now again, that's kind of the crux. Like you mentioned, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars is the same thing. Anytime you introduce the idea of destiny, that's kind of like you can lampshade at any problem. Like, oh, this happened because it had to happen. But I wish maybe there was just like a few like half an hour in between when he got killed. Now you could, for me to devil advocate myself, is well, the wife knows he's there and that's the time to strike, right? But I wish maybe we just had even just them walking a bit more, talking. But it was like literally the second he got out of that hut, he
For
just
our
made
benefit, I see what you mean, but in that sense, I took it as like, okay, it probably was like a few days in the movie's timeline, whereas
that he
for
was
us,
down there.
yeah, like it
Yeah.
was. I didn't associate it as like literally the next day. I took it as it was like a few days. Because
Well, no, they
he
came out.
was
No, they
walking
came out of that
around.
hut though. I thought they come directly out of that hut, and then
I
right
think they
away,
do.
arrow
It's
scared the shit out of me. It just fucking flew,
that
and I
went
knew
very
Ethan
quick.
Hawke was
It was in
going.
the trailer. It was in the trailer, that same scene, and still I like jumped. Like, because
Yeah, I was
it
like,
Travis
just
thought it
happened
was in the
very
theater.
quick.
Someone actually had a bow with the
Yeah.
sound effects.
You're done.
That guy that keeps giggling is throwing arrows at you.
But either way, there's that, and my only other one too, like that is similar. Again, these are minor ones. Is at the very end of the movie, the third act, where the uncle, what's the uncle's name? Vajorn is the brotherless. I'm just gonna call him Bang. I'm gonna call him Bang because that's his fucking last name. I'll tell you something. These Danish actors, because Matt Mikkelsen's Danish actor, there's something in the water over there. These Danish actors, when they start doing these like North American movies, they're just fucking so good. They're so genuine. And anyways, so there's this moment where he's saying goodbye to Nicole Kidman and the youngest, right? He's like, or not even goodbye. He's just like, protect yourselves at all costs. Like there could be danger. He steps out of the room. It's like 5 seconds later. Alexander Skarsgård there fucking them up, and then he just walks back like, oh, they're dead. I wish there was more time in between because I was like, you literally just left this room. Like what? Like he just walked out of here, and 30 seconds later he walks back and his family's dead, and it's just like, what? Like, oh, I again just maybe just a little more editing thing, but.
He stood in that hallway too. Like he obviously watched his son get fucking sliced in half.
Like there was I didn't feel the urgency, and I'll again devil advocates myself later. Just like, okay, by time like Skarsgård kills this kid so quick, right? So there was no saving him. And I also love in that moment where he just kind of he's heard about this destiny, and it feels like it's kind of bullshit, but I feel like he just accepts it. Like, okay, well, I guess we just gotta fucking fight. Like that's what we just gotta do, right? And he's like, I'm gonna meet you here. We're gonna do this. We're gonna die. All right, because he has nothing left. But those are comparisons of two very similar scenes of like them setting up. But usually that feels like, oh, it's gonna come like a little bit later, but it happens immediately. And I took me out for a moment of, oh, okay, we there. Like I said, it feels like maybe there was other stuff in there, but I don't think there is because Eggers has said, oh, this is completely my cut and stuff like that. So then for me, that's just like a few minor pacing issues that I had sometimes in the movie. It's just them happening so close together,
Yeah, no, fair enough. There's definitely moments that were noticeable for me where I'm like, man, we're jumping around, but it's also just such a long journey, right? Like it's,
oh yeah,
I'm not saying the movie feels long or anything. Like I think it's 2 hour,
216,
yeah.
yeah, but probably 210 probably with the credits or something.
Right.
So,
but like there is, especially like I think when he's initially like ransacking that village, and then he's just on the ship, and then we're just like progressing really quickly from that point on. But still, we're covering so much ground. Like it's not really like, I don't know, maybe an example to pull. It doesn't feel like Wonder Woman and Chris Pine just like going from the Amazon to like New York, like that feels like what the fuck just happened. Like I feel like they just cut out like an entire journey sequence. I guess maybe too because they showed the ship actually like hitting the waves and like kind of you see that side of the adventure. But there was a lot of moments that I felt like we are pacing pretty quickly here, but we just still have so much ground to cover. Then I think once you actually get to Iceland, the pacing for me was just perfect. It didn't feel like we're going too quick when we actually got to that location.
Because when you're talking about quick pacing, I was so I'm like, okay, we do the time jump, and then we're in this village, and I was surprised. Okay, he knows where the target is. He's gonna go there. And when it was like, it's probably within the first half an hour, 25 minutes, he's there. He's meeting his uncle. I'm like, how the fuck is this movie still like 2 hours? I was like, is he gonna kill the uncle and there's gonna be like a bigger threat? Because they even set up, they're like, oh well, he became the king, but then someone like took his shit and he's not the king of all this. So I was like, oh, maybe he's gonna have to kill the uncle, and to get the whole land back, he's gonna have to go higher up. Because I was like, we're already meeting the
I
uncle
thought
right
that
now.
too.
Yeah, we're already meeting him right now. How are we going to stretch this out? But I love, and again, because it's Destiny, but this is the time where I love it, where, you know, he finds the other he witch that has Defoe's head, which is great. He's like, I replaced his tongue and his eyes. So good. But I love one. This movie made me immediately want to go back. I'm planning to this weekend anyways, but I was like, man, I want to be playing Elden Ring right now, even if it's 1 a.m. This whole thing with like getting the sword from the skeleton and having to get him in the moonlight. Oh fuck, I love that. And this, like, we talked about this before, where I feel like you say something like Green Knight. Green Knight, I feel like definitely leans a lot more into the magic. This for me is like very 50-50, where it's like 50 real,
Yeah.
even maybe even less than that, but like there's magic in there. I love that the Nightblade cannot open until, like, he can kill other people with it, but to kill the uncle, no, it's not going to open for you. You got to wait till Destiny time. And that's where I love this idea, because then it's like,
Yeah.
okay, this is the movie of, yeah, okay, I can't kill him until a certain moment. What am I going to do while I wait around? Well, I'm going to fucking ruin his life. And man, does he really ruin his life. And I loved every second of like what you talked about earlier in open, like the revenge plot. But when they kind of reveal this is what's going to happen, and we see what he does, and I just love the uncle more
Yeah.
and more, thinking this camp is just cursed. And obviously Nicole Kidman, we'll get into, shares the truth, but he's like, what is this evil? Like, what is happening? Like, his sons are dying, his friends are being turned into horse people, the witches, like, it was so good. All of it. You got the mushrooms, everything, like,
Yeah,
fantastic.
that was the specific part which Shay even said, like, man, that was actually pretty badass. Like honestly, when he's just like cursing the village, like that was so fun. And like he's just one of the slaves, and one of like the favorite slaves after that wild game that they played. But fuck, man, I just like I was like grinning like ear to ear in those moments. I'm like, this is just so fun. Like he's literally just this ghost that's haunting this place, and
Oh yeah.
he has this vengeance among like on this person who doesn't know who he is, or like at the moment. And yeah, like they introduced like his I think it was his bastard child was like the oldest one.
Mhm.
And just like all the other characters that are like kind of related to him, or like his posse, and they're just like terrible people. They're complete assholes. I was
The
super
guard who
sus
took his
on.
nose off.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that was good.
I love that, because I love the reveal of him too, and they get on the boat, or he gets to
Yeah.
Iceland and it's a helmet, and then when he turns around you can see like the missing nose. Like, oh, so good.
Oh, 100% no. And I honestly, I was super sus on Nicole Kidman, even from the trailers. I'm like,
Yes.
there's
No.
something
That's a
weird
twist
with
that,
her.
like, so that's the thing where the twist that we'll get into, like, it worked because the content of it, but the whole time
Yeah.
I'm like, and this is where I say that's where it's not a bad thing, but right away when the first thing she's like, where's your brother? And I'm like, oh, why is she asking for your brother? Like, why does
Yeah.
this matter? And when he blows her off too and doesn't go to her bed, I'm like, okay, there's too many signs of, hey, she's not right. I will be excited to go back and watch, because I thought when he was carrying her throughout the village and she was like making a fuss, I thought, oh, she's just doing that for show for the takeover. But she said she was laughing. I'm excited to go back and watch and hear if you can
Yeah.
actually, like, if it is like a laughter or whatnot. But yeah, I agree. I never thought Nicole Kidman was going to be on our side at all. I'm like, this is over for you, Amleth.
I thought that, like, I suspected that she would be opposing our main character, but only in the sense, like, hey, to protect my family and what I've built here, that you've turned into this vessel of revenge, and I can't go along with this.
Mhm.
But I didn't expect that whole sequence that we got. Again, like, she reveals the whole plan and the intentions, and then she motions towards them. I'm like, okay, you're getting a little too close here. And then she starts like going into kiss and is like, you'd be my king and everything. I'm like, whoa,
Oh.
this is heavy stuff.
Well, yeah, and that's what I wanted to get into after our next ad break. And we're back. So yeah, that let's go back to the very beginning, because this is where like really got into, it sets up that all these characters are not what they seem, right? We already talked about with Skarsgård, where okay, we're following his journey but doing questionable things, but he's out for revenge. Okay. And then when we meet his dad, obviously, well, his dad's a fucking questionable guy already, these wolf trials and everything like that. But either way, so his dad's just obsessed with battle. He's not really giving much attention to Nicole Kidman. Nicole Kidman, well, he gets killed, revealed later, the dad, great acting there, everything, talking about like you're gonna be a bastard king and all this stuff. Yeah, so he gets killed. Great scene. And then we jump to that tense scene, yeah, that reveal where it is okay, he's wants to confront his mother, but it almost feels like he just wants to give her a warning, like, hey, like there's this bad shit that I feel like he was like, this bad shit's happening, but you're not the target. Like nothing's gonna happen to you. Very questionable decision, because it almost could have been his downfall. It was very close to it, but This is where I love that they have this conversation and it reveals as far as, oh, well, I'm the one that put the idea in the brother's head because, you were made out of just kind of happens that like you had to be made. It was like a
I was a slave,
yeah,
you're
yeah. You were. I was like, and like when they literally show the scar, I was like, oh damn, because she came there as a slave too. And it's like you were made out of just to have a new. You were made just to have a second in command, like a person that. What am I thinking of? The person that
An
takes
heir.
over. Yeah,
you
an
were
heir.
made to be a son or whatever that
Yeah,
was.
exactly. Where this youngest kid, she literally says like he was made out of love, and that's where I love it too. Where she goes like, "Yeah, I was a queen by force," and when she shows that scar again, so yeah, like to talk about that's Vikings, that's what they did back then, but it's like that's not right. So right away, you look back on Ethan Hawke's character, and he's just this honorable, guy who like
Yeah.
loves his wife and loves his kid and everything, and you're rooting for him because he got slain, his country's taken from him, but at the same time, like, well you force the slave to be your wife, and of course Nicole Kidman's probably doing it just to like live a better life, but right away it makes you think like less of him, and then even like Nicole Kidman, it's like yeah, sure and it's like she even admits that she sounds like she has love for her son, but she had to have him killed because if he's around, she knows what the resort's gonna be. He's gonna destroy this new life that she has. So it's like all these characters, and sure you could say the brother, the uncle, is like well he's just killing his brother, but he's doing it because there's a few people that don't like Ethan Hawke. You can make the case he's doing it for Nicole Kidman, who wants to be actually free and not this like guise of free. So that's why like all our kind of our four main pillars of like Skarsgård, Nicole Kidman, the uncle, and Ethan Hawke, like they're all very shades of gray. And there's not anyone that's a bad guy or a good guy. And that's why I loved that they could have just made, oh yeah, the uncle. And I thought there'd be some sort of twist, but the fact that she was actually a slave, to me, that was all really well done. I was like, okay, this puts you in a whole different situation. Kind of like what we were talking about with Civil War a few weeks ago, where it's like, yeah, your team, well, Taylor was on the wrong side of history, but it's like for us, they're team Cap, like, yeah, but then it's like, oh man, you lied about his parents' death. That's kind of fucked up. And this
Hmm.
is just that, but like times 10, like this is some really bad shit going on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I thought that was again like the reveal, like I was never in love with your father. It's like okay, well I knew that, but then when she like revealed that she wasn't like just a princess that came from
Yeah.
Britannia or whatever the hell she said, and then just again she like the line you were talking about, Travis, how like the princesses that you think of are just slaves to like
Mm-hmm.
the lustful men. Again, just butchering this line that she delivered so beautifully in the movie, but that was a really nice moment because as you just said, it kind of exposed Ethan Hawke's character because up until this point you just saw him as someone that was just brutally murdered in cold blood, like not a fair fight at all. There's like five dudes on horses that just fucking punctured him like a shish kebab all at
Oh
once
yeah.
there. So not like an honorable death, not like a brother being like, okay, the better man will win hand to hand combat. Like, no,
No.
no, no, no,
This was
no. So,
assassination
yeah.
100%. Like we're gonna kill him right now.
Yeah. And then hunt down his son and like bring me the boy's head. Like, that's fucked
Yeah.
up, right? And to have that in the first 20 minutes, it like for the viewer, it's like, hey, I understand who my good guy is and I understand who the bad
Yes.
guys are. And then Nicole Kidman's kind of just somewhere in the middle, if you believe that she is truly the victim at that point. But
Yeah, which in the movie they don't show anything that would like it's us as probably like attuned watchers being like, okay, there's something sus. But in the movie, there's nothing questionable. It's just oh, she was
right.
kidnapped and forced to live this life. Where in the middle, it's a
Never
complete
enter my
shift in
chambers without.
the-
That's where I'm like, whoa, she's got
yeah,
some
yeah.
hide.
Where in the middle, it's a complete shift of all the characters and the dynamics and everything like that. And that's kind of where maybe too I was kind of wishing Anya was in on that as well. Like that's where I wanted some
Right.
of that stuff of the past because everybody else was on this revolving door where she was just kind of like, yeah, I hate all these people. I'm here to help you out. Thumbs up. It's like, okay, yeah,
I
well,
think I
great.
think another thing there too is for one, I was so in love with like Skarsgård at this point. I'm like, this is just such a great protagonist to follow. Like he is just a fucking badass. This is so cool. And then to
Mhm.
have her as like his little sidekick in those missions, that was really fun.
Yes.
And then it helps. I'm just Anya Army, like just huge Anya
Anya
Taylor
Army.
Joy fan, and
And she's so
yeah, I
good. That's what
yeah,
makes
she
it.
is
Yeah.
so good, and I just want to root for her, so I don't want her to just like stab my protagonist in the end and be like, I was the bad guy all along. I also love your uncle.
Yeah.
I think that would have brought a tear to my eye, but
Yeah. I guess I was almost waiting for what we talked about before, where she might think he's a Northman, but not know the full situation. And I was waiting for almost someone at camp to mention something about what those Northmen did, and her kind of put two and two together.
mm,
But again, it's almost like what we talked about in Viking times. Is like did the women unfortunately back then? Do you just throw that aside? Do you just, well, he killed these people and kids, but that's what I thought. Like that's everybody back then, right? Like, is
Yeah.
that just a thing? And that's, so Taylor, what were your thoughts? Oh, and then we didn't mention, yeah, got the kiss and stuff and all uncomfortable, and she cuts him and stuff, and I was almost wondering too, like, was she gonna sit was she gonna sit back and just kind of go with whoever won? Like, would she go with the uncle, or would she go with her son, just happenstance? But no,
We're talking
she,
about Nicole Kidman, right?
yeah, Nicole Kidman.
I
Sorry,
thought you were
yeah,
talking about
Anya
Taylor
Taylor-Joy.
Joy.
sorry, no. No, there's a great line before I forget it, which I talked about in the meme group. But man, when he's trying to have her way with her, and she's having her womanly stuff going on,
My goodness.
and she's bleeding, she throws that at him, and he's disgusted. One of my favorite line reads later on is when Nicole Kidman convinces him, like, no, my son. I love when he's like, your son's dead. Like, it's not your son. Like, he's just like, you crazy woman. And she's like, no, it's my son. Like, he's killing us all. It's not a curse. But when he's like, okay, I'm just gonna kill all these slaves to prove a point here until they say something of value, and he puts his knife up against her throat, and she starts to laugh, and she's just like, "Oh, a woman's blood doesn't scare you now, huh?" And she starts to laugh. Oh my god, bone chilling line delivered by Anya Joy. Just like, I can't do that all justice. I was like, oh, you don't want to fuck, because there's no fear whatsoever. She's like, you don't want to fuck with this person. My god.
Yeah.
So I love that like comeback layer. But yeah, Taylor, what did you think about the dad reveal, the mom reveal, a little bit of the uncle, that kind of middle tent portion where all kind of gets flipped around?
Yeah, the whole reveal definitely caught me off guard a little bit. Like I thought there was gonna be some kind of dynamic involved there, but with what they showcased, I didn't expect it to be along that route. And the uncle was just proving to be a very interesting character, and getting to see his perspective, I started to kind of root for him a little bit more. Where I see, okay, like this is a this is like a love, family. Like he generally, like, especially with his youngest son, like I could see the love that existed there. And
Like, from his
His son was a
perspective,
little spoiled brat.
his
not
son
that
is a
son,
piece of
the
shit.
other
Yeah.
son, the other son.
Even the
The
little
bastard
son.
son?
No, both of them sucked.
I'm talking about the youngest son's fucking
The
sucked.
youngest
That's what I'm
one,
gonna
I didn't
yeah.
think he sucked at all. Like he
When they're
seemed
chopping
like,
the wood, why do we have to do this? We have
Yeah, but I
years for
took it
this.
as like,
and think
that's
about
just
when they're
like,
playing the sports game, he runs out there like a fucking idiot. Like, oh
no, that I don't like. It was bold of him, but like they're Vikings, and he's just such into the thrill of the game. Like, man, there's many like
Thrill of the
sports days
game.
fans
He
these
almost
days that
fucking
do
died,
stuff like
that one
that.
big guy.
So, but he took
Oh,
it like
yeah.
a champ. But no, like the other
He didn't
son,
take it like
I
a
thought
champ. He was saved. It's not like he walked off. He was literally moments away from death until
yeah,
Alex,
but he still took it like a champ, though. He was knocked out and just woke up. And but anyways, the other son I think was definitely way worse and just much more of like an ass. But I don't know him.
More of
So
a
if,
Ramsey type.
if Kirkland thinks the youngest is worse and you think the oldest, I'm in the middle of, they're both the worst. They're equally
Well, that's what I
shitty
wanted to
sons.
say, but yeah.
Yeah.
That scene where Anya Taylor-Joy, she just whips out the cloth and just douses him. Yeah, that was just something else. And he just storms off all angrily, like, and everything like that. But she was just incredible with everything she was doing. Because I was like, okay, is she really a witch? Like, she's obviously got a lot of like backstory going on with her character here. And when they were having this fair slave gathering in the woods,
Oh, yeah.
and, like, all getting like excited, happy, and then like he goes out to have his little meeting with the leaders, and he comes back and like just slaves running around butt ass naked.
Oh,
in the
yeah.
woods, like giggling, and everyone
Orgies
was just,
everywhere.
Like, yeah, a slave orgy. It was like, oh my goodness, like in Iceland, this is something else.
That's one of my favorite moments.
Let's fuck.
Yeah, Morbius is definitely something with Zeus, but like that's one of my favorite moments where he's just talking to her, and then off to the side there's just like a guy just like humping away over there, and they're like having this romantic. And I liked the
Clapping cheeks.
yeah, I clapping cheeks, but I love the kind of switch around too, no pun intended. But when he's looking for her, and they have a shot of her, and then there's like a guy on her knees, pretty much like pleasuring her or something, and you make it think like, oh, she's getting cheek slapped by someone else, but then it's just like him kind of
It's the
foreseeing.
uncle.
but like it's just kind of him foreseeing things, which we see later on, right? Like he has a few, because kind of whether it is him or the he witch bestowing that on him, he has like a few like visions and whatnot. Like he sees the kids and he sees everything like that. So I like that splice, because it fooled me. I'm like, oh man, she's getting on with someone else. This is gonna be awkward. This is because she was making eyes with that lady, but then I was like, oh, she's just making eyes. But then they have that scene in the moonlight and everything, and That's all good. And same thing as far as plot points. Like, not that I even had a huge big thing in the movie, but I was like, man, she's getting pregnant right here. I just know it. It's happening. Like, I know which route we're going with the story. And then she was later. And obviously, that's a big decision where, again, I like it because I don't know. Did any of you think he was making it back from that volcano fight? Because I sure didn't. Like, the second he left that
No,
boat, it's over for him. Yeah.
Oh
it's
yeah.
And
over
that's,
for you.
yeah, and that's just like classic, like revenge tale and stuff. But and I still like that because you can argue like, is this his destiny? But us as the viewer, I'm like, yeah, it's his destiny, but I'm still, again, he's our protagonist, but I'm not really agreeing with him because his pitch is, okay, I gotta go back here, I gotta kill him because we're in danger. First of all, look at what we've seen in this movie. This woman could be in danger without you a lot more than you just taking out this dude. Like, one, the uncle has to find you, which you don't even know if he could because he's just a fucking farmer. And two, like, she's gonna need you. She has twins. Like,
Yeah.
she's gonna need you. Stick with her. But to me, that's kind of the, like, he's using, to me, he's like using that excuse, like, oh, it's to protect you. But it's still, no, the vengeance is more
Yeah.
than the peace, you know?
And like a big thing with this movie is like it's his destiny, right? Like all the details were basically told by Willem Dafoe in like the first 20 minutes of the movie.
Yes.
And like especially even when he does that follow-up reading with the dude with Willem Dafoe's head, again, like you're gonna have to make this choice between your hatred or like love for your kin. And he ended up saying like I choose both, and then he just kind of fucked off, which was, I was like, that was kind of weird. Okay,
Oh, really?
I don't know if he really chose both there.
Yeah, you
And-
definitely chose one side, sir. You definitely chose.
And like in that moment, I was like, okay, well this, or sorry, in that moment I was like what you said, Travis, how like, okay, I'm gonna do this to rescue my family. My uncle will eventually find my family. Would he? Like, and even if
No.
he did, like, you're probably still gonna be shredded and like just ready to fucking kick his ass.
Yeah, exactly.
Your uncle's only
Go
getting
heal
older.
up. Go heal up.
Yeah.
So when he finds you, you're ready for him.
Yeah,
You know?
but I truly believe it's like, no, this is I have unfinished business, you know. And then he's
Oh,
going
yeah.
back in there, and,
And,
yeah,
like-
I did not think he was gonna make it through.
And like that's one, and that Last of Us 2, very like controversial game, but it has a very similar moment of this with a character, and like that's the thing where, of course, we want him to go with her, we want him to have the two kids, everything like that. But the things that are the best choices for our characters are the interesting choices, not the choices we want, because that is the happy. That's the there's no big finale. There's no him killing his wife and his brother and his uncle in a volcano naked fight without him making this choice, right? Because yeah, the what if is, oh, he goes with her and maybe they're just happily ever. That's it. But the most interesting choices are the ones you hate that the character makes. And in this moment, you're like, oh, you jump off the boat, which I laugh when he jumped off the boat. He's like an otter. He's just gone. There's no, he's just like, I guess he can just hold his breath. He's just out of there and everything.
His swimming method too. I'm like, this guy is like an Olympic swimmer here. He's just
Yeah.
like bobbing in the water, just like going heavy with his sword and
Don't
everything.
mess with the Zohan. Like,
Oh, yeah,
essentially
yeah.
just jumping through.
Yeah, Taylor, what do you think about the choice made? You know, he finds out he has 2 ones on the
I
way.
didn't want him to do it. I wanted to go with his family, but
Of course,
such
you
is
know?
life. This is the movie we got, and yeah, it led to a pretty intense scene.
He got an honorable death. That's what
he
that's
got a
what a Viking
very, very
wants,
honorable
right?
death,
Die
yeah.
in battle.
Leading up to that,
He's like his dad. Well, kind of.
before he leaves, like to get on the boat in the first place, and he's just like dangling there and being beaten up and everything like that, and he's just like, I know where your son's heart is. How do you know the heart I didn't give you was like a dog's heart? Just,
Oh, that was
trash
so
talking the
good.
uncle. It was brutal.
It was another
but-
one of those like Travis, you mentioned Anya Taylor-Joy's one-liner of like, "Oh, woman's blood doesn't scare you now." Like that was another one of those moments where I'm like, "Oh shit, he did
Yeah.
that!" Like fuck, it was so good.
Then cut to him just looking like Jesus the next scene, strung up and covered in blood. It's like,
Well,
fuck.
that
Maybe you
was
shouldn't have said
brutal.
that.
But like I love that scene. I loved it even more when the crows came in and started like picking away, and then you just
Yeah.
see Odin standing there. I'm like, this is so
Oh,
cool. I
yeah.
love how this is, and then it just segues to a Valkyrie like carrying him off to the gates of Valhalla, and then
'Cause, like-
it turns out it's Anya Taylor-Joy.
And then, like, I'm people are gonna hate on me for doing this, but like to shit on one thing to raise another. This is what fucking Moon Knight should be, because the way with that Crows and Odin, that could all be. He's just convinced this Crow is his dad. He's like, father. The first time he sees Crow, we never at one point does that Crow speak to him, stuff like that. Like that's why I love, like in that scene, yeah, you're seeing Odin, but that doesn't mean that's actually there. That doesn't mean these crows are actually helping out.
Right.
Because just these
Well-
crows are here. Just fucking pecking at him. That's why I love. There's this, like, you can have it either way of like, oh, this is a magical, these people helping him out, or this is just he's concocted, like, because he thinks this is his destiny. These crows are here to help me. It's like, no, they could
Well,
just be fucking birds, man. You know. And I wish more Moon Knight was more like that for me, because that's what he is in the comic books. It's like that back and forth.
wait till Wednesday to talk about Moon Knight. But
Yeah, but I'm saying Robert Eggers should direct the Moon Knight movie.
season 2 Moon Knight.
Yeah, he's like, I'm doing fucking Disney Plus. You kidding me?
But like what you were just saying there, how like the Valkyrie like took him to Valhalla basically, but it wasn't a Valkyrie, like it was just Anya Taylor-Joy, and then she drops a line like, "I'm no Valkyrie, but like I still took you away," and that again. That's where I think just the meshing of like the magic and the realism just worked so masterfully, or that's a weird way to say that. It was masterfully done in my eyes because obviously like Anya Taylor-Joy has some sort of like, I'm not saying she's casting spells, but like she can at least make some witches brews to make everyone kind of hallucinate, and then like there
yeah,
is
but at
some
the same
things that she
time, you could just
control.
argue that's just like fucking mushrooms, right? There's no
True.
witchcraft to it. It's just like
She-
we all could get high tonight, and we're not witches, right? So that's why I love it. Is that it's that duality of I want to watch again, but I almost feel like even with the Nightblade, you could probably argue that he's like fucked up in the head and he just had some hallucinations. I'd love to watch the whole movie with this guys of like, could you dispel everything as not magic? Which I think you
Right.
could. I actually
I think
do
you
think
could.
you could.
I think you could too, and a lot of it too probably goes into like that belief of like at that
Yes.
time, like they truly believe like the gods and like the
100%.
omens and all this stuff. Like you sacrifice this, and this is a direct result why you get rain. Or that's a random example, but like
People still do that
that's so
today, right?
ingrained in their
Karma.
culture.
Karma
Yeah.
goes around,
Yeah.
goes around, comes around, which that could be true, that could not be true, like.
But especially back then, like it's even more so,
Yes.
like so
Oh,
heavy.
yeah.
Like people are willing to die to go to Valhalla. Like that is their end goal, and I think they just, yeah, that's an interesting thought experiment maybe to do on like another rewatch. What you mentioned, Travis, of like try and like have a grounded reason for any of the magical type things to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like when Anya Taylor-Joy kind of like has her Wind Waker at the end and like commands the winds to take the ship away. Maybe that was just perfect fucking timing for a gust of wind to come in, right? Like
Yeah,
you don't
because
actually
everyone on the
know.
boat's like, what the fuck is going on here? Like,
We have to take
what?
her.
Yeah. You jump too. You go too. No charge. Which I don't know if you guys noticed, but the guy who was like the main captain that they talked to was the dad from The Witch.
Yeah,
Yes.
and the
Who you
mom
could never
from The Witch,
understand.
the mom from The Witch, who I think Kate Dickie is, I think that's her
Mhm.
name. I didn't know that she was in this movie, but while the movie was going on, I'm like, she's gonna fucking make an appearance because she is like the perfect type of actress to have in these types of movies. She's in The
Yes.
Green Knight, she's in The Witch, she's
Yeah.
in all these like type of old school. I guess also the tie there is with Robert Eggers. Like, there's a lot of characters that kind of intermingle. Maybe the next Robert Eggers film will have Robert Pattinson in it.
Well,
Let's go.
and that's what was disappointing to me, because you had those two you just mentioned. You had Anya Taylor-Joy from The Witch. You had Willem Dafoe from Lighthouse. I know, and I do wonder, and I doubt he would say this, but he's just said he's good friends with Robert Pattinson. I do wonder if Rob wasn't doing Batman, if he would have been doing this, because the timing's probably pretty similar, in my opinion. Just because, man, I wish Robert Pattinson had some role, because it would have just been like this ultimate like Robert Eggers like complete like package. Like, we got everybody in here. But yeah, maybe the next one. But I hope he keeps using all these people, because all these people are good actors,
Oh, yeah.
and stuff like that. So
1000%.
You mentioned it, Travis. I just want to like piggyback on it. That Nightblade scene when he goes into that like hall and you just see this thing. I was like you were saying Elden Ring vibes.
yeah.
Like for me, I haven't played Elden Ring, so I was just treating it like this just feels like Skyrim
yeah.
out the wazoo.
Dude,
Like,
there's
I
so
love
many
this.
moments when I'm like, I just want to go play Skyrim and play as a Nord. Like, there's so many
Absolutely.
similarities, right? Like, go to Valhalla, going to Sovngarde. Like, it's just so many parallels
It's
there.
very fitting.
But
I
the-
took that scene. Oh, sorry. Go
Oh, I
ahead.
was just gonna say, but then if you look at that scene, he has that big fight scene, but then what happens when it snaps? It's just he takes a sword from a skeleton. So you can just again argue
After he
that's
takes
all
the
in his head.
skeletons, after he takes the helmet, shoves it up his ass, looks
Big
over.
laugh in my theater. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah. But you
I-
could again argue that's didn't happen, just in his mind, because
No,
it's just
100%.
Definitely could. I took it. I took it as like it was a trial in his mind. Like
Oh,
not
yeah.
that it didn't happen, but
Yeah.
like it did happen. But he had to face this challenge and overcome his mentality. Right.
That's what's so good about this movie is like
Mm-hmm.
the blending of like the fantasy type stuff is like you could kind of write off like, or maybe just like a proper explanation on why that didn't happen. Maybe just too much fucking peyote in that cave with Willem Dafoe's buddy
Oh,
who's got his
because there's
severed head.
definitely fucking drugs in that cave there. There's no and in their mind it's like strengthening herbs, but it could just be fucking meth somewhere and like this is some good shit. I'm a wolf
Some
now.
Walter White, yeah, straight from the lab. Yeah, and I mean, I think I was kind of thinking the fantasy realm for at least just him finding like the Nightblade, because it was kind of random how he just found this hill and then he just like went down this cavern, and it was like a longboat that was like underground. And like again, just so much was going on. I didn't really have a chance to like realize like where the fuck even is he right now. It was just
Well, I
like,
thought
oh, this
that,
is where our
that
character
witch
is.
gave him kind of like directions. I thought, or
She
like
did. She gave him the insights. Yeah.
that was a he, wasn't it, or was it
the witch. I thought it was a she.
the one with Willem Dafoe's?
Oh no! I mean the other witch, like previous, right? That seer. She kind of laid the
Bjork's
plan.
character.
Yeah.
Oh
to
yes,
him.
yes, yeah.
But
I
that
took
guy
it.
reiterated it for sure.
Yeah, I took it as they kind of like mentally gave him like directions of like it's because they even like put those images of like the blade being forged and
I was
everything
like,
like
oh, we're seeing like Elrond
it's been
reforging the
remade.
sword. Yeah.
I was there, Ambleth, 3,000 years ago.
when your uncle fucked this whole country up. Let's take our probably last ad break and finish breaking this down and get to our ratings. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. Where do we want to go now? What do we haven't touched upon, talked about, etc.?
Yeah, I don't know exactly.
I want to talk.
You're
a little more
bouncing all
about
over the
him,
place.
Oh
him,
yeah,
like fucking up the village. So like first
Yeah,
of all,
sure.
when he's just like you hear the dogs howling and the dogs start turning on the people, I'm like, this is cool. Like what's going on? Then you look and you see him like Skarsgård just on all fours, just howling with the dogs
Working
next
them
to
up.
him. Yeah, and the other dogs are all just like going to town and just coming at the one dog attacked the uncle like crazy.
I'm
yeah.
getting goosebumps just see like just like remembering that scene. Oh, just so good. Him just haunting the villa, and then another situation that he had with a dog was, I forget where he was specifically, but like he was getting ready to use the Nightblade to I think kill like our main antagonist, and then the dog was there like barking at him, and he just does like a full like he just snaps into like hound mode where he growls at the dog and like spit just comes out, and like just the way that like he acted that scene, I was like I almost jumped like in my seat. I was like holy shit, and then the dog just like instantly is like, okay, this is my alpha right in front of me right here. And again, like I just love the animalistic nature of like, okay, yeah, we saw him with Carrie from You season 2 in the woods early on, just like having his tribal. Sorry, You season 3. Was it You? Is that what you did? Is that what you did there? Okay, for,
As I
for a
did there,
second there,
3.
I'm like, did season 3 even happen? Yes. Okay.
3 glasses.
Yeah, but like it just like he never really loses like that Viking side, even when he becomes like a more, again, this is where I'm pulling from like Ghost of Tsushima. Like it's as if he's coming from like a warrior background to being like the more ghost. Like he's changing his tactics, but he still has that animalistic nature that he had in the beginning of just being a berserker, charging into battle with just his muscles looking fucking gorgeous and just bare belly and just ready to just chew people's necks out. And I loved when he would pull that again, like later on when he was cursing the village there. Oh, so good.
That scene when he was howling, was that I'm pretty sure that was the precursor scene to when he saved that sacrifice and just cut open that dude hanging upside down, tied up their kind of like religious lady, right? Or was that following
I'm trying.
after?
No, that was after when he killed the bastard son's like 2 buddies, because they're like, what is this? Like, there's no human that could do this. So okay, and then like the lady there was like, okay, don't worry, I'll do a sacrifice later tonight.
Yeah.
And then
Then he did the
It did not
dogs
go
as a
well.
distraction, didn't he? And that's so he
well,
could get in there.
yeah.
I think he did. Yeah, and then he saves them, and he kills the one guy, blindfolds her, and everything like that, and
Saves her.
yeah.
Again, he's just like a hero at this point in the movie.
oh yeah, well
Saving
that,
the other slaves.
that's one of the last thing he does at the end, right? He like frees the slaves, like you're free now, and they turn around, which is like good symbolism. They burn the whole thing down, which is like you think about the last time he was around something burning, he was the one helping like kill these
Right.
people, and now look
I
at
didn't
it
even think
film
about
later.
that.
That's
Yeah,
kind
look,
of a poor choice on their regard. They're trapped on an island.
100
They could have used that wood.
100%. I was like, I was more the cases like, just get the fuck out of here. Why are we sticking around, like burning this place down? But I also like before the bastard got killed, and he's like, why are they giving them weapons and everything like that? And they're just kind of like, well, we have to, like, you don't want a slave uprising, like, because even then you have the uncle being like, this is your home too. Like, all of a sudden they've had this like change of approach, like, we're all in this together. But it's really just they don't want the slaves to get any ideas of like, oh, we could really help fuck this thing up. And that's what I love when
Yeah.
he killed the bastard's son. Because for a second I didn't even know it was fully him when he stabbed that sword. I'm like, oh, just who's this dude? I love that. I feel like he just did it out of spite. Like, oh, fuck you for saying this shit about my dad and not loving me. You know what? This is your, like, you know, adopted son. You're dead. And then he, like, obviously took his heart out and everything. And what I really like later on too is they do this whole he's freaking out because the son, and I love both versions where his son saw his friends and he told him like, snap out of it, you got to be calm around the people. Later on when he sees the son, he's snapping, and Nicole Kidman's like, no, you got to be calm for the people. So I like
Man
that kind
up.
of,
Gives
yeah,
him a slap basically.
yeah. Again, I love that duality. And then when we do the actual funeral, I love that whatever, because you'd imagine the brothers from the similar family or tribe or whatever it may be, but he still has his own type of like kind of ritual, because when the eldest son dies, they have to do this thing where they cut the horse and they
God
take the
damn.
blood and they throw the blood on the uncle and they throw the blood on the youngest son, and now they're like, you are the heir apparent and everything like that. So that's why I like that. Again, earlier, the duality of the very first one of the first scenes is we see Ethan Hawke and, you know, Alexander Skarsgård as a kid having their ritual bonding, and this is like literally Nicole Kidman says like, hey, you can't do this. Like, he's so young, he's not ready. But it's like, oh, his grandfather was a king at this point. Like, I have to get him ready. And that's what I love. Same thing. Jump to the uncle doing with his son. His son is at probably the same age Skarsgård was when it happened, maybe younger. And they're doing this ritual for him. So again, just this kind of symbolism, this kind of like mirror effect, and seeing, okay, they're doing their own ritual now, passing this on. And, you know,
I feel like the youngest kid was always going to be the heir because the other one was a bastard. And then even early on, when you first meet the young kid, when they go to the uncle on Iceland, like the first time we see him when he's all chiseled and gray and they're chopping, like the son is already like, well, I'm like, this is going to be mine. Like I am the heir here. At least that's the way I took it. I don't know all the like the hierarchy reasons.
I did too, but I felt like
Good
it was
symbolism
maybe,
still. What you were mentioning. Yeah.
I felt like it was they hadn't told the bastard maybe yet. Like that's how I took it. Like I felt you're right that the youngest would rule, but the bastard felt like he was gonna rule because he was always in charge and stuff like that. But this was like, yeah, the cementing of, okay, now he's gonna be the guy, and then later on he does that kind of ritual again at some point because he just takes. I love the scene, like I said earlier, of just, okay, I'm gonna meet you at the gates of hell. We're gonna do this. Like it just he just seems like he's just so fed up with it. But there's almost a point of him almost like believing this destiny of like, okay, I guess I just have to do this now. And I will say, because it broke reality for me a little bit, and we're always talking about the joint nudity and whatnot, we did not have enough dick flopping around in that final fight scene, because they look like they didn't even have dicks. Like they blurred that all out, and the moves they were doing, how much they were jumping, and they're just looking like Ken dolls and everything. I was waiting for just swords and dongs, but the fight scene, phenomenal. Perfect shot, because again, we all knew he's not going to make it, but perfect shot of like instantly, like he cuts his head off and he has that sword there and it looks like he's holding it, but the way to reveal it is like he drops the body and that shows that still in him. All good stuff. And that's just like great intense finale. And you know,
no, man, that the end sequence, like you mentioned that scene when Skarsgård like murders his mom and the youngest son, and then like just the uncle's reaction. He's not tearing up, he's not crying, just grabs his son, fucking drags Nicole Kidman out of there, and he's just like, I'll meet you at the gates of hell, and then I'll kill you like I fucking killed your dad. And
which he
like
did.
He did.
He did 100%. Technically kill him.
Everybody had honorable deaths.
Yeah, it was a draw. Well, I don't know if the bastard's son had honorable death. He died in his sleep, then he got his heart ripped out.
I meant to just say that too, but he didn't deserve that. Also, since you mentioned the bastard's son, I forgot to mention this very quickly. I fucking love the dynamic between him and Skarsgård throughout the film, because he's always just like, you know, like, oh, I'm a royalty here, like my dad runs the place.
God complex.
Yeah, exactly. And then like meanwhile, who he's like shitting on, like, slave, don't look him in the eyes. And then like later on, he's like, slave, look at me in the eyes when I'm talking to you. And he's just like shitting on him. And he just has no idea like what the potential is. Like this guy's literally a berserker Viking. Like this guy, and I think I was just getting so giddy anytime that like Skarsgård would just kind of like hold his emotion back, like anytime that this young punk is just like shitting on him and spitting on his name and just talking shit. Because I was like, I know what's gonna happen. I know he's gonna fuck this guy up eventually. It was a pretty quick death, all in all. Like I think out of anyone, he probably had the best death, because it's just you die in your sleep, stab right through the heart.
Yeah, well, even though
He
Cole
definitely
Gibbons
woke
though,
up though.
yeah, that's true. Even Nicole Kidman though said that she thanked him for stabbing her in the heart because it
True.
was a quick death, and I like that. And even then too, that was a good. You kind of see where we talk about that where to me, him choosing vengeance also still makes him a worse character because earlier in the movie, he told Anya Taylor-Joy, he's like, "I will not kill a woman. I'll never kill a woman." And
Mhm.
what does he do at the end of this movie? He kills not only a woman but his mom, and it shows again that yeah, you shouldn't have picked vengeance. Like, yeah, sure. It's again, it depends which their belief system. Like you were talking about earlier, Kirkland. It's like in his mind, he did win, but really, when you look
Mhm.
back, it's like, okay, sure, you killed your uncle and got revenge, but did you win? Like you're dead here. You killed your mom.
Eh,
You've now widowed this woman with two women, two babies. It's like to me, him killing his mom when they've specifically set up him saying, "I'll never kill a woman," to me was showing kind of the downfall of that character. And he protected his brother earlier on in the movie,
right.
and here he just he sliced him in half. You know?
Yeah, that was such a good emotional moment from our character of like his reaction to the mom, and then when the young kid jumped out and just fucking stabbed him multiple times,
Mhm.
like he didn't. I don't think he wanted to kill like the young
No.
defenseless kid there, but like it was just kind of like he swung him off, and then in the same motion he just sliced him to death, and like he was just kind of in shock, and like he's in fucking pain because this young kid just stabbed him like 17 times in the back, and you can kind of see like he's almost slipping in and out of consciousness in that
Mhm.
moment. When we see him later, his fucking whole shirt is just red. It's just he's bleeding like
Oh
crazy.
yeah.
I was worried for him going into that fight. I thought it was gonna be like a gladiator situation where he just goes in compromised, which he was, and then he gets his arm nearly sliced off and
Ooh.
just. Oh man, this is again where it just got me so jacked when he was just does that Viking roar to just like channel the last bits of adrenaline that he can muster to just like absolutely fuck up his uncle here. That dude, oh, I was so sweaty in that final scene. Anyways, I was initially talking about that final scene. I went on a little tangent there, talking about the bastard son and then the whole
Mhm.
situation with the mom and everything like that. But man, what a like symbolic, but also just like so well like shot scene of like the cinematography, and then the shadows of like the volcanoes in the back literally feels like they're in hell. Like
Mhm.
everything about another thought I had when I left the movie, I'm like, I feel like there's a movie that I'm gonna watch multiple times, and there's just gonna be more things I like catch on about, or maybe if you like know more about Norse mythology, you can like catch more symbolisms and hidden meanings of things. Very same way that like Green Knight is, right? Like every little decision that happens in Green Knight has like hidden meanings and
Mhm.
things like that. And I really think that this one has that. And when a movie had like that's just a special movie in my eyes whenever they can do that. But the final scene, man, oh yeah, I was like in tears almost, just like it was magical. Taylor, what do you think about the final scene?
I thought it was definitely well shot. Cinematography was fantastic, and but my main thing was like, okay, like it's just these guys are bold because if you're jumping around over lava and like literally like they're like inches away from stepping in these little rivers of lava flowing between them, and like their cocks are out. Like how, like that's just so bold. Like one like
Yeah, but
mismaneuver and your cock's gone.
but
Like
that's true. But I feel like they both know they're not coming back from this. Like that, at least how
I
I read it.
guess in that
Yeah,
case, yeah, who cares? I mean, really,
because
like
I know Skarsgard is like, yeah,
All
I'll do it
Taylor's
for
thinking
both.
about this moment is
The
just like this
cock.
the Cox. The
I
Cox
don't
is
lose
gonna
my
burn up.
cock. I mean, I'll
Yeah.
fight in the lava pits of hell, but I don't want to lose my cock or my cock out. We had this conversation not too long ago, Kirkland. Like, I woke up and I was naked, and then we were talking about someone robbing my house. Like, I don't want to attack the robber with my cock out. It's just, it's
I think it's an
not
additional
gonna
weapon,
happen.
but
Yeah, let's say
That's
that
what
for
you were
after
saying.
9. That's
Yeah.
happening tomorrow night if you're listening to this. But
But beautiful scene. Beautiful scene. Though.
yeah. Yeah, no, and I just think it's like for the uncle, he's lost everything. His two sons, his wife, his kingdom, that's over. And for Skarsgård, like I said, I think he's putting it out there like, oh yeah, I'll find you. But in my opinion, it's not like I think he's pretty much know this is a suicide mission at this point. And he's been stabbed so much, I feel like he knows it's like even if he survives this
Ooh.
fight, I don't think he's gonna survive the blood loss
Yeah.
That
walking back.
nick
You
on
know?
his arm. Ooh, I just felt
oh, it
that
was deep.
pain.
It was
was
fucking
Yeah.
very
deep
deep.
slice.
That's when I thought it was actually over for him. And that I was like, I don't know if you can fight with that anymore because it's like it looked like one of his tendons was actually like like it was
Did you
in
think he was
between.
gonna lose the fight?
There was a chance because you just you never know
It
with
just ends
Robert
with the uncle
Eggers.
winning.
Yeah, but I also think that the uncle would have just killed himself right after.
Oh, 100%. No,
'Cause
he killed his ride home, right? Like the horse was executed with
yeah.
his family
To me, it
members at the
wasn't
end
even
there.
about him surviving. It was just, okay, I have to kill you. And again, at the end of the day, it's a draw. Like they both,
Hmm.
he got revenge, but then the uncle said, "I'm going to kill you like I killed your father," and he did. So it's just like they both lost and they both achieved their goals, And it's an unsatisfying ending in the best way. The fact of like, oh, this sucks,
It's
like,
like
but
the
it's
most
supposed to.
I don't even know how. If I was gonna say it's like the
Satisfying,
most.
unsatisfying
Yeah,
ending.
that's a
Yeah.
better way of saying it.
Couple things I want to just quickly shout out. You
Do it.
mentioned that funeral scene, that ceremony where the younger son was kind of stepping into the new position, and they were kind of sending off the older son.
I know where you're
When
going.
they cut the head of the horse off, that woman that was singing in the background, the older lady was like stabbing her and like
Yeah.
Mhm.
executing her. I was like, whoa, what the fuck is
I,
going
s-
on?
I assume that was like the lady of the bastard. Like that was kind of
That's
like
what I thought
his
too. Which
woman. And
that's
then
fucked
Oh, that
up.
makes sense. Yeah, it was
no,
really
Viking
fucked up.
times are fucked up.
Yeah, you got to go to this
Yeah.
funeral for your husband. You got to sing, and when you're done your little song, we're gonna fucking kill you. thanks for hanging out.
Women's rights
I'm
back
glad
then,
that's not
man, were
the case.
not around.
I'm glad that's
Yeah,
not the
but,
case like this day, because like if you die,
Whoa.
Travis, Emily has to join
Yeah.
you. I die, Madison has to
I
join
still
you.
wonder, like, the idea of it though. Like, how come they wouldn't even like, okay, well, you're gonna do slaves work now? Like, they didn't even like, and maybe that's like, I'm not saying a negative against the film, which is something I have to look into as far as the culture. Like, why was that? Like, what was the decision upon them? But again, obviously, look at the way they live. They're savages, so there wasn't much like
But Nicole
thought.
Kidman didn't. She got to remarry. So I mean, it's circumstantial. Like I guess if
Yeah,
another king
true.
kills your guy, then you can remarry him, or you can get killed. I don't know.
But his
It's up
was
to
kind of a
the
hostile
men to
takeover.
choose.
Yeah, yeah. The other thing I,
I
wanted to shout out
yeah.
was when they're playing that sports game. I really laughed because like when Skarsgård finally clicked in like what was going on, how to play, and that big Brutus guy like threw the ball and one-handed hit it, and he like ducked, and it just was like shot straight and hit the pole and bounced off. He's like, yeah, like I was like, oh, this guy's fucking in tune. With
I,
the
I laughed
sport.
so hard in that scene too, but like I think after the first point is scored, it like goes to Alexander Skarsgård's team. And they're just like scrawny little dudes, and it's just the other. They're all like fucking like well fed like men. Oh, it was pretty comedic, honestly.
Two things I was gonna say that I liked the idea of it, the whole like family tree with the CGI. I think it threw me off a bit because everything looks so practical. Where that thing in the mind, it didn't look to me. Not it didn't look bad. It just is like it just stands out in movies like these where it's like there's barely any CGI or like the CGI is seamless when you got the CGI breathing tree. So like I liked it enough. I liked the family tree and I loved
Yeah,
started to zoom up the twins. But like I said, I think maybe visually I would have preferred something else. But I will say though, I'm happy, obviously because I saw the movie. But every time I saw the trailer, which was only a few times, now we know it's like that like horse Valhalla rider or whatever that's
the
taking him out.
Valkyrie.
Yeah, anytime I saw it, I was like, what the fuck is this character doing in this movie? Like I could not place what is
During
like,
the movie, right?
yeah,
Is that what
because
you're
I'm
talking
like,
about? Yeah, no,
when is this
same.
gonna
I'm
come
like,
in?
when is this gonna show up?
Yeah, and I'm like, it must just be some dream sequence of it because
This
at
chick
first I
wearing
thought,
braces.
yeah, because at first I thought, oh, because in the trailers it doesn't look like it's a guy or a girl. It could be like any sex. So like, oh, maybe this is some. I thought it was going to take place when Willem Dafoe was training him, and something like crazy was going to happen with him, like look wise. Like, okay, this can happen. So once we moved past that and Dafoe was dead, I'm like, when the fuck is this going to pop up? And no, that Valkyrie just popping off on the horse every time. Like, and yeah. So I was happy. That was always my question. Ever I saw the Northman, like, what the fuck is this scene? And you know what? It was answered and it worked out. And that where it had a similar look to the mind, like kind of CGI place, but I liked it because it was a bit more shadowed. And I like that the only really CGI thing was like the gates of Valhalla. And I like that. Good way to end the movie to take him up there.
Oh man, like right at the end when you have our protagonist like just dying, and then you see like in his eyes like just like
Yeah.
Valhalla. Oh, I was like getting like it was so beautiful. It was just it
You're
was
right there with
gorgeous.
him.
Right there with them. Yeah, I'm tearing
Yep.
up on my way to Valhalla. Something I didn't realize, like, I've heard of Valkyries, just like what they are, and then obviously we have a Valkyrie in the MCU and stuff like that. I never realized that like apparently in Norse mythology, when I actually look this up, like they're actually just like the people that bring fallen soldiers like to the gates of Valhalla. There's two different types of. Again, I'm not well versed. I just did a quick little Wikipedia search to like understand that. So the way that they're portrayed in the movie, I always just assume they're like badass female warriors, but I guess that's just my MCU knowledge.
Oh
seeping
yeah,
in.
don't use the MCU knowledge for your like. Look at Thor, what he was supposed to look like in North mythology, and then look at Chris Hemsworth. They ain't the same person.
No, 100%. Very quickly, the other note I had was just, we got a nice spicy sex scene that led to, some pregnant Anya Taylor-Joy. But in the moment, I'm like, dude, sex back then must have been the fucking raunchiest, dirtiest thing like ever. Like
Oh
they must have
yeah.
just been so
So
filthy and
animalistic,
gross, and just
so
ass
hot.
in the
Like
pine,
na-
like pine
like
cones in the ass, and all
like
this stuff.
nowadays, if I hear a man or a woman don't like to go down each other, as when I was single, they're like, "Oh, you prude! I want nothing to do with you. Like, experience your
Yeah.
body." If I was back then and the girl's like, "I'm not sucking," you'd be like, "You know what? Completely understand the scenario."
Yeah, it's on
'Cause-
fire, so I hope not. Just all
yeah, I
the
lost the
STDs
lava.
I got.
But oh yeah, no, everything from the dirt to the sweat to like
Because they're
multiple.
not clean, like ever.
No,
Like even if you have a bath, you don't have suds, you don't have
and
Manscaped.
and you're
No, but
and
they
you're
had that
yeah.
springs, that's hot spring though. That was clean.
Oh,
that
yeah,
was
that
that
was
was like
bodies.
that was prime. And you
I saw
hair
that
was
as,
looking
like,
all nice shampooed.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I'm like, there's no probably situation in my life where Emily and I are gonna be in that situation, but I was like, you know what? I gotta find a way to make this happen.
With
Just
the
the way-
backdrop,
It's a good
what a way to
situation.
fuck.
and the water's like it's cold, but the water's like steaming and everything. That's like, oh yeah,
I can give you
gotta-
the name of some secret hot springs out there. It's,
This sounds like how I die, but definitely give me the. I'll take that list. But oh shit, what was I gonna? Oh, and also just you got your pullout game has to be on point because there's no. Well, actually, I guess we're not.
I
Gonna
think
get
There's
that's
no
a
pullouts.
non-existent thing back then.
Pregnancy is just a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, there's probably other brutal forces though that they would use to stop that, unfortunately. So I shouldn't even say that. Knowing what we saw in this film and Vikings back then, if someone's pregnant, they didn't want them to be. I'm sure they'd find something. So, but yeah, no, sex back then is it's comes with a lot more baggage.
100%. Another thing, I think it was maybe one of the prophecies, either with like the female Sirius, or Willem Dafoe, or the other guy that had Willem Dafoe's head. One of those prophecy type things explained of like a maiden. I don't want to say maiden king, or like what the terminology was, like a maiden leader. Like this will be a hierarchy type individual, but a female. And the way that it
Yeah.
was described, I'm like, oh, is this going to be like Anya Taylor-Joy's character that kind of just like becomes the role? I was really pumped when it was the twins, and it was like the female, or like sorry, the girl twin that like is actually wearing the crown and everything. That was just a really cool thing. Again, I don't know.
So
I
how
don't
do
know
you
why
think?
it was.
No, but how do you think it gets there? Do you think it's just like some line where they eventually find out, like, oh, this blood is what should have, or do you think Anya eventually marries like some other king or something in a family? Because that's the way I take it. Like the way it
Yeah.
would be back then, that maybe she gets upon a situation where she meets somebody of royalty, they take her, which usually though back then you usually wouldn't. Usually they tried to pick people that didn't have a kid because they like in their mind they were virgins, right? And it's so like,
Right.
so I don't know how that situation would happen, you know?
No, it's a great question, and again, that's something it didn't even really cross my mind. It was just like the journey was so epic. It did. I wasn't even thinking of like the epilogue tale. It's just like this is the way it is. Which I think that just goes to like explain like, or it just goes to show how good of like this journey was, that like I'm not even really thinking about this because I'm so focused on the main structure. But no, you brought up some great points there, because like I'm assuming she just finds his like kinsman, right? Because that's what she was doing. Like show this
Yeah.
ring to them, and then they'll give you 9 times what it's worth, or whatever it was. Like he has some homies on the mainland that she will help him out, and but like really, like there's no kingdom that she can go back to.
No.
Maybe it's just like in the future these twins will rise up to like just have their own kingdom, and then
Yeah,
it'll be like
exactly.
yeah. I
It's all
think
up to
that's
you.
a headcanon.
Exactly. Yeah.
Headcanon way of going about it.
Mm. Anything else to shut up before we give our final ratings here?
Willem Dafoe's great. We didn't really
he's
talk
great.
about him much. He wasn't
Yeah.
in it too much. I think it threw me off, like, because I knew he was gonna be like a seer, but when he's first like in that throne room, he's just kind of like a jester character.
Smacking
like-
his big old cock.
That's what
Well,
I, that's
was a
what I
metal
thought it
cock,
was.
right? Like a
Yeah.
I was
metal
like, holy
harness.
fuck, this guy, he's going full nude in the movie. But
Just shit talking the queen. Like,
Yeah,
oh, she's.
but he
what
was
did say?
right.
Like she's wet with their husband not being here or something. Like just
Yeah.
totally like vulgar stuff.
Yeah.
I'm so glad Willem Dafoe was just Like, would you say he's like more relevant now than he's like ever
Yes,
been? Like, yeah, like
100%.
it's like
I don't know
I
when it happened, but it definitely like, and it wasn't even because No Way Home. That I think got him to the peak of just like if anyone forgot about William Dafoe, they didn't. But I don't know. I think
like
it's I don't know.
Lighthouse. What year was that?
I feel like
20.
it, yes, but I feel like it was even before that because we were all so excited for Willem Dafoe in Lighthouse. It wasn't because like, oh, we saw Lighthouse and man, we love Willem Dafoe.
Yeah,
We were pumped because like fuck it, like if it here's the thing, if it wasn't Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe, maybe some of us wouldn't have seen that movie, right? But we're like,
yeah,
fuck, it's those two together. So I really don't know. I think it's just like a fine wine over years. People are just like, man, he's just the best. Like I don't
yeah.
know even then I wouldn't attribute it to Aquaman because he's in that, but like it could be for
God, he's in
people.
that.
He is in that, but like still, it's $1 billion film, right? So tons of people saw it, but I don't know. I think it's just like it's just because every time you see Defoe, he's just good, and I think that just got to
Yeah,
people's mind. But I definitely think he's the most relevant these past like 2 years. 100%. He hosts SNL for the first time ever. All he needs to do is win that fucking Oscar, and it will happen one day. But
right.
probably not for the Jester. Not enough screen time for that one. But
No, but he's great, man. Oh,
oh yeah.
he's special.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. No, I like I said, I love so much about this film. I'm going first because I don't have the perfect score. I don't have a 10. I got to add a 9.5 because, like I said, my only thing, and it could change, but like I said, my only hang-ups were a few of those pacing things where I think the overall story and the plot was paced well. Just a few of the plot moments of, like I said, the dad, the you will avenge me to dying right away to, hey, look out for this guy. Oh, he killed you right now. Like, there's a few of those, but the more bigger thing was, like I said, I think I wanted a little bit more from Anya's characters. What was her name here to actually shout it out? I'm looking at the witch IMDb, so that's not going to help me. But anyways, I wanted
Olga of
Olga.
the Birch Forest.
I wanted a little bit more from her from a story standpoint. I thought it was pretty good, but everybody else's was so great. I think it was like a little bit lacking. But everything else, cinematography, score, which we only talk about a little, but it was just like it was like Viking music, but it felt like a kind of newer, amped up rendition, like almost like a little rock at times. But we talk about it's this perfect blend of like fantasy and realism, brutality and beautifulness, tragic to kind of understanding. So yeah, a 9.5. It's definitely one next, or yeah, I guess next year when Golden Geeks is going to come up, it's going to be there. And like I've said before, this would be probably my favorite film of the year if there wasn't already a couple bangers already out. So love this. And yeah, it's I would say the best Robert Eggers movie, not the weirdest one, but the best one. And maybe if it's being someone would be like, oh, well, it's because it's a bit more streamlined. Maybe that helps. Maybe it's good that he's streamlined it a bit more. But just like Ari Aster, just like a few other people, like a Nolan, obviously, stuff like that. Denis Villeneuve, like anytime there's an Eggers movie for the rest of my life, I'm gonna go see it because I just even whether like the Witch, Lighthouse to this, varying degrees of like to respect it, but I'm all like he's always making something I remember, So unless he starts putting out some really bad quality movies, I'm always gonna be buying a ticket to see what he does because it's just something good. And like I said, I think this was his best one yet. So that was my thoughts. So Titterfield, what are your final thoughts on the score?
Oh yeah, my final thoughts are this movie is cinematically it's just incredible and it's got a very compelling start to finish story, yeah, of revenge and just Viking brutal action and just full of Assassin's Creed kind of tropes that I personally really like to indulge in. So I think that again, I knew right away coming out of this movie who to recommend this movie to and kind of like who to maybe not. And I think that it's just something that is definitely worth seeing in theaters on the big screen between all these different components that make up this film. And it was incredible. And again, like it got me like super like maybe like primal, like guys were riding off, like you guys are all like turning into wolves now and everything like that. So
I've always been a wolf.
Yeah. But I feel like is it a perfect movie? No, but I'd probably still go high. I'd probably go like a 9 out of 10. I think like looking at like the other films that this director has done.
Kirk was mad at our scores. Did you see that? He literally he collapsed.
Stressful.
Oh,
he is mad. I want to rewatch like a few of their films, like because like from what I remember, like and maybe it's just because we memed so hard on it. The Lighthouse just being like one heck of a time.
How many times
but like
have you seen it? Just curiosity.
I've seen it twice, but I really want to. Like, that was a while ago. I really want to rewatch The Witch again. And I mean, The Green Knight. Like
do it with Madison.
Yeah,
She'd
Green
love this
Knight.
movie.
Watch The Witch with her. I think I watched it by myself.
Green Knight, by the way, if you have Amazon Prime, it's on there right now
Oh, nice.
for
That
free.
one,
no
I
rent or
mean, I
anything.
didn't watch too long ago. That one's probably the most
Oh,
recent
yeah.
one because I was for Golden Geeks. So
Yeah. Yeah, I
um,
think I'm doing a Witch Lighthouse double feature here in the next few weeks. I just watched. It's like, okay, I'm ready to dive back into these.
That's
mhm.
such a like a unappealing double feature for me. I feel like that's like a 5-hour slot of just ugh.
Just shut the blinds, close them,
You,
spur yourself in your home.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's cinema,
Shay.
Kirklin.
Okay. Well, with Shay. No, I won't expose her to the witch. Definitely not. Any other things to say, Taylor, before I
Have
jump
at
in?
her.
Yeah, man. I forgot to say this in the spoiler-free section. I'm just so amazed at like what this year is turning out to be like movie-wise.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
we're only in April, and Travis, you mentioned like everything, anything,
Everything
everywhere, all at
Everywhere
once.
yeah.
Everything, everywhere, all at once. Batman. Now this, like,
Turning Red. And wait till you
fuck
see
yeah,
Massive
Turning
Talent.
Red.
Wait, that's
Yeah,
gonna be another one
exactly.
for you, man. Massive
No,
Talent's another.
yeah,
Yeah.
phenomenal year of movies so far.
Golden
Fuck,
Geek's gonna
man,
fucking
this
suck next week. It's gonna, or it's
it's
gonna be
gonna be a
good, but that's gonna be
5-hour
like,
nominations
yeah,
cast.
that's gonna be a tough one, man.
Yeah,
Ugh.
I fucking love this movie, man. Like, as already, I don't want to just reiterate everything I said, but from start to finish, I was just fully engaged. Or maybe like the first 15 minutes, I was like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
Like, especially worried because like this is a 2-hour movie. I got Shay here with me. Like, she's gonna be walking out halfway through if this continues. But from like, when we actually get Alexander Skarsgård on screen to the end of the movie, I was 100% in on it. Annie Taylor-Joy is just chef's kiss quality. Like, she is so amazing. This is a 10 out of 10 movie for me. I fucking love this. And
Mhm.
again, something that I just keep getting shocked about is like the things that I would normally be nitpicky on. It just, I didn't even really think about it in the moment. And I think, yeah, it's special. The score, the scenes. I'm like, fuck, man, I want to go to Iceland now and just find one of those private
Yeah.
springs that definitely isn't
Oh
there.
yeah.
But
It's just a house now. Fuck.
or like a huge tourist attraction.
Taylor,
type
you
thing.
gotta
Like,
in the GV3, you
I'll
gotta
look
send
it
us that
up.
list. You gotta send us
Oh,
this
yeah.
list. And just
I've got some
pretend it's
things.
Iceland.
but yeah, just the epic scale of this revenge story was just so it was so special, and I'll be like Palpatine. I'll be watching Robert Eggers' career with great interest moving forward.
Oh
'cause
yeah.
Until he gives me like an M Night Shyamalan old type movie. I think he's in my good book so far. And like again, I'm bringing in The Witch here. Like even if I don't want to rewatch that movie, I can still credit just like the quality that went into that. Like it's a unique film for the fact that like they actually pulled a lot of like written accounts of like time, like things that happened around that time, which is just insane to make a movie about that, like on actual folktale stories. This isn't about the witch though. This is about the Northman, and man, I love it.
Like the old folk tales for the witch or for the Northman? For the Northman, you mean, right?
For the witch, I was kind
Oh,
of
for the
blending in the
witch.
stories there. For the witch, it's called like a New England folktale, and
All right.
I looked into it, and like a lot of the dialogue was like actually taken from like scriptures of like back then of like yeah. Look it up. It's fascinating the way that was actually done. Which is
Which is real. I found, if you guys are interested, from Denmark to Iceland, you can take a ferry. It's about 37 hours, or you can take a plane.
From Denmark to Iceland. Is it as shitty as Annie Taylor-Joy and Skarsgård's boat ride there?
Yeah, all the crew members actually get to sit under cover. You have to sit outside in chains.
They're
Tell
all
me
right.
I'm cold.
All right,
Hold me.
passengers, step up for your brand. Fuck,
Well,
Peter
ladies and
Martin.
gentlemen, we did it. Much like a few of these movies we've talked about this year already. I'm sure we'll be talking about this again coming up in about 8 to 10 months here when Golden Geeks is around. We'll have to get Dylan Mutz to watch this and see if Jessica wants to watch this and be the one woman on the cast. Like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? But until then, we'll be back next week with tons of newscasts, tons of reviews, and we promise you it'll not be boring.
Bye-bye.
Peace.